Today, snowy conditions all of a sudden here on the Sunday card. Welcome inside our studio, Greg Wolf alongside Sarah El Badwi as we get set for our first live action from New York here coming up on the Sunday program. Feature later today. 3-year-old New York bred fillies sprinting in that Franklin Square. It looks like a lot of speed signed up in this race, which could set it up for someone from off the pace.
And hopefully that is the case, as we often see speed on paper not quite play out the same way out on the racetrack. But you're absolutely right. It does seem like a lot of horses do want to be forwardly placed upcoming in that Franklin Square. We did see a couple of scratches, horses that maybe not a part of that pace that we're discussing, but a couple that are rematching coming out of that Key Sense Stakes that took place with Tricky Temper, the victor that day.
One of those is a speedster. That's Kara's Time, who tried to do a gate to wire in this race, and just like the race prior, gets caught late as Tricky Temper rolls on by.
And a horse that will be coming from a little bit off the pace in here. Maybe she gets even more speed to close into that stalking type as she now looks to build off of that performance, getting that extra half a furlong. A horse that in her prior start on dirt finished behind Jody's Pride, who made a good showing of herself in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. But Kara's Time, she's consistent. She just quite hasn't been able to hold on to the leads that she's been building in her past couple of races.
And she's still got the likes of, if she wants to do it on the front end, Sweet Brown Sugar from the rail. Flight Control got some speed, as well as a couple of other speeds that can maybe pressure early in that race. That's coming up as race 8, our feature later today. Let's take a look at what's ahead, presented by Clayburn Farm. Mentioned today here, and we have Tampa Bay Downs as well. We'll check in with Acacia Clement, where a little bit better weather, but not what they're used to out there in South Florida. So we'll have races 4 through 9. Start of the Pick 6 coming up. Includes that Franklin Square. And at Tampa Bay, races 4 through 9 out there as well. I guess fast. I believe the turf course listed as good. We're back with some turf racing today at Tampa Bay. You can play all the action by getting signed up with our bets. That's the offer for new members, that $200 deposit match, new customer bonus, and that's the code to punch in to take advantage of it. Match 200 at sign up right there at nairabets.com. So our 4th race of the afternoon, it will start the Pick 6, and that is the filly to beat. You see that snow coming down. Does she like the snowy conditions? We'll find out who flourishes in this weather. Copa Girl tried to do a gate to wire last time out. Brad Cox, Manny Franco team up when we return. Back with you on America's Day at the Races on our FS2 coverage, brought to you in part where you can play it all at Naira Bets. Go to nairabets.com, get signed up, get started. We have the Pick 6 coming up on our first live action of the afternoon here. Starter, allowance optional claiming 1 turn mile and pretty heavy favorite. Copa Girl for trainer that looks like he is probably the front runner to win yet another Eclipse Award is outstanding trainer Brad Cox. He has Manny Franco on board. And will she control today on the front end?
It's definitely a question, as she was aggressively ridden last time in a race where she was the speed in there behind She's Mo Bubbly, a horse that also had some looks of being forward. She's Mo Bubbly able to eventually wear her down, and a good margin of separation back to your third place finisher in this race. Of course, She's Mo Bubbly would return and not really show up in a stakes race in her next start. It's remaining to see if Copa Girl runs a race like this again. This was an 86 buyer for her. She'd hit the low 80s in the past, and we'll see if she can build off of that race or ultimately does end up regressing. But it seems as though Pharaoh's Heart towards the outside could be the other horse that is forward early, especially coming in off a little bit of a freshening. Yeah,
you got a question with Pharaoh's Heart. We'll get to her, the 6th. Is she going to be able to finish? Long time off. Haven't seen her since June, and does look like she could be the speed, the one to pressure if this one does go with Manny Franco. A lot of times, too, when you're on the best, and I guess a lot of people assume Copa Girl's probably the best in here, just go and kind of try and take it to the field early.
That would be what you should probably do in this kind of situation. I'm sure that a rider like Manny Franco will be able to read how the race is playing out early and make the right kind of decision about where he wants to be placed and can adapt if necessary to do so. She'll be forward. Whether or not she's actually the one on the lead or not, it kind of, I don't think for her, ends up really mattering. I'm sure that her rider will be able to make the right decision depending on what Pharaoh's Heart to the outside does decide to do.
So 3-1 outside on Pharaoh's Heart, and there she is. She'll be easy to spot. 7-year-old mare. It's pretty gray here, and she made the lead when she was on dirt for the last time when she faced one other rival in that 2-horse field. And she wound up winning by 19 1/4 length. I actually love to see those match races. We don't see it a lot. She was dominant that day, but she definitely can be forward and should be.
She can, especially having that outside post, able to sort of see what's going on to her inside, and especially coming off a little bit of a freshening as well, probably feeling fresh and wants to show some of that early speed off the bench. And even in the start before that on dirt, she was running behind Hot Fudge, who we've seen come back with some pretty solid performances as of late. So she's kept good company in the past, even if her last dirt start was only against another rival.
They're really just facing a lot better company than most of this field when we last saw her, but it's been, again, some time away. Here's Mersal, and one of the hottest trainers on this circuit, Rick Dutro, who potentially has the horse of the year and older horse of the year in White Barrio, had that Whitney and Breeders' Cup Classic double that he pulled off late in the year. Mersal, some very big numbers. Another one who was facing a lot better last start.
She was. She will need to get a little bit faster if the top two really bring their A race, and even Whistler Style down towards the inside. She hasn't hit the 80s with her buyers yet. However, her last couple of races have been improvements, and she has been facing some decent company overall. Whether or not the top horses that we see on paper end up coming in with their better races remains to be seen, but she's one that definitely is worth a look and possibly to upset those two if you think that there might be some vulnerabilities with either favorite.
That was her pilot that just walked through our shot there. Jose Gomez will be aboard for Dutro. Has been using him quite a bit, who won last year's Eclipse Award as Outstanding Apprentice, now adjusting to life as a journeyman in this extremely difficult circuit, but he's holding his own.
He is, absolutely, and he's making a lot of good aggressive decisions as well. A rider that certainly doesn't take anything away from speed horses when he has them, and was riding very well at Saratoga this summer, and that momentum has continued over the winter and into next year.
There he is with our back to us, Jose Gomez. Is a great mentor, teaching him the ropes, and one of the best to ever do it, and Angel Cordero.
Yeah, absolutely. Very few people that you can think of to be better teachers as far as coming up with your jockey career moving forwards. And now we're taking a look at Whistler Style, who's one of several horses for David Jacobson, who just the numbers that he's put up as far as what his barn's been able to do just over the past month here at NYRA. He's winning at 21%, $2.19 ROI. 21 for 34 in the money with his horses, and a lot of them at fair prices because you just don't really see on their form the kind of races that they end up running.
6-1 on Whistler Style. Surprised that big a number. There's another
she will need
look
to get
at
a little
her.
bit faster, but it's certainly not without a possibility for this barn as of late, and she improved dramatically last time, going from a 66 to an 81 buyer when stretching back out in distance. And while this might be a tougher field on paper, we've seen this barn have horses take those big jumps in terms of what numbers they've been able to put up on paper.
I don't think she even needs a big jump to contend here. I think she's right in the mix. This is a 6-time winner as well. And obviously some of those wins coming against lower company, but you're facing Copa Girl only has a maiden win on the resume.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, when you have those horses that are able to get themselves into the winner's circle on multiple occasions versus a horse at 4 to 5, and that taking into consideration that price differential, she's definitely worth considering. And I had some interest in her before there was this much of a price discrepancy. I'm definitely more interested now at the price that she's currently at.
Here she is. Isaac Castillo will be back aboard. He was aboard for that win here at Aqueduct January 4th.
And a rider that rides for this barn very frequently, and he is also very aggressive as well.
10-day return for the one. Vienna Code, blinkers on at 35 to 1.
A horse that just has been big prices over her last several races. It's been a long time since we've seen her best form.
Copa Girl looks like she's going to be very tough to beat in this spot for Brad Cox.
She is. She's the clear horse to beat. She should be forward whether or not she's on the lead, and she just has sort of the class and upside as well.
Carragate was trying entry-level allowance last couple of starts to no avail.
And it just seems like she needs to get a little bit faster. Has been best against state-bred company.
There's the Dutro filly, Mersal.
I think another step forward definitely would put her in the mix. We'll see if we get it from her today.
And Pharaoh's Heart, off since June of last summer, was on the turf the last time we saw her. 7-year-old mare who potentially is the one to not only challenge Copa Girl up front, maybe she's in front by herself.
Yeah, I think it's a definite possibility, especially coming in fresh. You saw Jose Lescano go off for that solo warm-up as well, and it's possibly an indicator that he'll want some forward position.
Give me a second.
So 5 to 1 on this one here, Whistler style, but it looks like the way the board's playing in here in terms of pick 6 today, I'm not going to say we got close to a pick 6 carryover because there were two horses that would have resulted in a carry, but the horse who won that last race on Saturday was so dominant there was never a chance.
No, I mean, he was the horse that had a couple of tickets live to him. We're talking about the Big Torpedo, who just seemed like one of the more logical horses within the sequence. He was able to get it done, resulted in a $52,000 payout.
Minute to post coming up. The race that kicks off this pick 6 sequence. Let's welcome in for the first time today, dressed for the weather, champion jockey Richard Migliore.
Yeah, I'm prepared today. Even got the gloves out, thanks to my wife, Carmela. She said she was tired of seeing my hands look so cold out here. But I talked to a bunch of the riders as they came out just about the conditions, and they said it's really pretty good. You know, the wind is picked up a bit, but not so much gusting wind is kind of a steady wind, and that's when you have to be more concerned. When the winds gust and they're a little less predictable than just having one steady wind from the same direction. The one-horse Whistler style made a really nice impression in the paddock, guys. This 6-year-old daughter of Tonalist is 1 for 1 here at Aqueduct. You know, against easier, but certainly did it the right way. She's also a horse that's been proven very proficient at the distance. Your favorite looks really good, Copa Girl. Nothing I can say negatively about her, but she got to, you know, go to the lead last time on a very slow pace going a mile and 1/8 and just didn't see it out. She fought gamely to the wire. Now she turns back, and I don't anticipate her having quite as much speed going the 1-turn mile as she did the 2 turns mile and 1/8. You know, you just look at the fractions, 49 and 1. They should go quite a bit quicker here. And a horse that I'm absolutely bullish about, that I checks every box for me, loved her in the paddock, loved her in the warm-up, is number 6, Pharaoh's Heart. And I think she controls from the outside. I could see why Michelle Nevin wanted to give her a shot on the grass. She does have that wide, flat foot that we talk about with turf horses. Didn't work out. She's back to her preferred surface, and I think she controls from the outside, from flag fall to that's all.
So we'll see if Jose Lescano is thinking the same as Mig here, trying to get to the front and dictate things on her terms. You see a little bit of wind on this Sunday card here, and I believe the snow is let up, at least for now.
For now.
Looking, you know, at the rest of this card, this is probably well, I shouldn't say that the next race we're going to have a really short price favorite too, but I know one that we both think is extremely vulnerable and has big question marks.
Exactly. I think this is maybe one of the more formful races within the sequence. The next, if you're against the favorite, it's an open race, that $16,000 claiming race. An interesting race in the 6th for the maidens. Maybe people leaning on the horses with experience. There might be some interesting firsters. Tough race in the 7th. Very competitive allowance race that we have. There's no real strong lean, at least for me, throughout the sequence because I am against that heavy favorite in the next.
Well, for many, the heavy lean is this one right here. The horse we're talking about in the next race that's going to be a very short price. It's the 2-night effect, but major question marks as that form has just gone completely south for the big class drop, which is a red flag. Pick 6 starts here. Let's go upstairs to Chris Griffin to get us started.
It was Hart to the outside. Pharaoh's Hart goes in. All set. And they're off. Mersal gets the first call, breaks with Thurley speed, and towards the inside, here comes Vienna Code to join those leaders. Out wider, that's Pharaoh's Hart. And Pharaoh's Hart will secure the front as the gray up alongside. Copa Girl, who now moves on through, is now going to track in second at the rail. Here comes Whistler's Style, is going to be a challenge third with Mersal in that red cap out wider. Then comes Carragate, who's up on the far outside, is with the trailer now, Vienna Code. Easy tempo early as they work up the backstretch. It's Pharaoh's Hart with a neck in front. Now kicks it up, and Pharaoh's Hart is up by a full length. Copa Girl is 3-5 and moves right towards the outside here into the 2-path. They went 24-1 for the opening quarter mile. Just off of them is Mersal, who's patiently ridden here, is in the 3rd position at the rail, shoved along as Whistler Style. Wants to move closer for Castillo, the 2 at the back. Carragate and Vienna Code. They get set to move into the far turn. Pharaoh's Hart has got the lead. It's Pharaoh's Hart who went 47-3 for a half-mile time. Copa Girl is all in here from second, is moving closer to the leader, and here she comes now. Under a drive is Whistler Style, is down towards the inside of an oncoming Mersal, and Mersal is back for more, is now about to challenge and take third, far back to the rest. Carragate is back there with the trailer. Vienna Code. They approach, a quarter mile left to go. Pharaoh's Hart is doing it nicely and now sprints for home, and Pharaoh's Hart is now just opening up. It's Pharaoh's Hart doing it nicely, and here's Mersal down to the inside of Copa Girl, who's got to do more from there. Pharaoh's Hart is approaching the final furlong. Mersal down towards the inside, and also Copa Girl on the outside, but Pharaoh's Hart just has not come back to them yet. It's Pharaoh's Hart trying to gut it out for a final 16th. It's still a length and a half. Now call it 2 clear. Pharaoh's Hart will take him gate to wire. It's all Pharaoh's Hart to win it. Mersal, then Copa Girl. Then a photo, Carragate with an oncoming Whistler's Style. They're in a photo there for 4th. Then 1 minute 39-4.
The aggressor able to take advantage and keep on going in here. It seemed like Manny Franco content to let Jose Lezcano, Pharaoh's Hart, be the one in front. And the 7-year-old mare wins off the long layoff, 4th win of her career.
Yeah, able to come back, control this race. It was a pretty pedestrian first quarter of a mile in this race. They sped it up a little bit in the half, but as you mentioned, Manny Franco on Copa Girl, able to let Jose Lezcano go on by, ultimately switches out towards the outside with Copa Girl. She just didn't have enough punch to get by. Doesn't really even want to get there for second over Mersal. Kind of a head bob there for that second place finish, but with those tactics, able to fire fresh off the bench here for Jose Lezcano and adds another win to her resume.
And you say, well, 5-2 to start off this pick 6. It's actually a fairly big upset to start off the sequence. 3-5 favorite defeated to start things off here with Copa Girl being beat. So that could play a little bit bigger than this 5-2 looks like on the board. 6-5, 3-4 Jose Lezcano for Michelle Nevin, and a 7-year-old mare with more left in the tank. Gets, again, her 4th win of her career.
And apparently the right choice to bring her back to the races, and here a horse that had certainly done plenty, and they could have said, okay, she's done enough for us, but she had more racing to do and was able to come back with a nice win in this spot. See where they go with her from here, but certainly competitive later on this year.
Prices when we come back. We'll get you to Tampa Bay Downs as well. Race 4 up next will be on the turf at a mile and a 16th for maiden claimers, and we'll check it with Acacia Clement right after this.
Charlatan is back, and he turns it on with an 1/8 of a mile to go. Express Train moves into second. Nashville dropping out of it, and then Collusion Illusion. What a spectacular return for Charlatan. win the run-happy Malibu Stakes by 4.5 emphatic lengths. Charlatan, ultra impressive.
It's a new day for a new king.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
Twirling Candy, proving Lane's End's stallion-making tradition. Twirling Candy has seen success on the track and sales rate, siring multiple Grade 1 winners and millionaires, including Exalted, Beyond Brilliant, Gear Jockey, and reaching 7-figure yearling and 2-year-old sales. By the legendary Candy Ride. Twirling Candy, a leader of his generation.
Back with you on our FS2 coverage, America's Day at the Races. Sunday action here in South Ozone Park, New York. It's brought to you in part by Clayburn Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Pick 6 underway with an upset 3-5 favorite, defeated by this 7-year-old mare off a lengthy layoff here. Hadn't raced since June. Pharaoh's Heart the victory. Mig standing by with her trainer.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. And Michelle, this mare ran so big off of this extended layoff going a mile, and she's the kind that runs the whole race. She has speed. How difficult is it to get one ready and have him that fit first time off the bench?
You know, every horse is different, and some horses love to run fresh, and some need a start there. But, you know, her being a big, heavy filly, you would think she might need a race, but she's always so forward in the morning.
Yeah, she really enjoys her training?
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, she was claimed. I mean, it's hard to let go of ones that have been successful with you. How do you feel about that?
I mean, you're always sad to see them go, but, you know, I think she was placed appropriately.
Yeah, she certainly was. Now, you did give her a try on the turf, and looking at her from a physical perspective, you would have thought she might have handled the turf a little better.
Yeah, we were kind of hoping so. It didn't really work out, but, you know, back on the dirt today, she showed up again.
Well, great job here to have her ready to fire so big right away.
Thanks, Richie.
Congratulations, guys. Just a really terrific job. Can't overstate how difficult it is to get one off the bench to run that big.
Yeah, great effort. And for those who don't follow this circuit that closely, Michelle Nevin, terrific trainer who just doesn't have one of those monster stables like a lot of the big names you're used to hearing.
You're absolutely right, and you know, knowing that the horse is an individual and having that sort of approach to bringing horses back off of layoffs, and even just anything that you do around the barn, and being able to sort of pay attention to who they are and what sort of specific treatment they might need versus sort of treating them as a whole, I think speaks to the success that she's able to have.
And you heard Meg say it win like that off the bench, and it hurts probably a little bit to lose that mare. She was in for a $50,000 claiming tag, so anyone could put a claim in and grab her. And David Jacobson claims Pharaoh's Heart, so she'll be moving to his barn immediately on the way back. As we shift gears to Tampa Bay on the turf, mile and a 16th. I believe, yes, still listed as good on the turf. And 5-2 favorite here, Turbo Millie, who is trying turf for the first time.
Yeah, a horse that hasn't been on this surface yet. There isn't really a ton of turf pedigree to recommend with this one, but would need to take to this surface and improve a little bit.
There's Seafarer to kick things off.
A horse that's just making the second start of her career. Not really a ton of turf pedigree for this one either.
Stately April, big price, 21-1. 2 turf starts to begin the career, didn't show a lot.
No, would need to have improved a bit. Is coming second off a little bit of a freshening.
So here's Turbo Millie. Did produce a runner that at least put together some good figures on the grass named Ida Claire.
Exactly, and a horse that did run fairly well and competitively last time out, so maybe needs to take that step forward on turf, but has the numbers.
Mobina continuing to drop down the class ladder. Went by at 28-1. Here's the 5 Beautifully Perfect.
Another one trying the turf for the first time. Not a ton of pedigree for the turf with this one either. Needs to get a little bit faster overall.
Speed on dirt last time out for Platinum Diva. Big player here.
Yeah, absolutely. A horse that makes a lot of sense and actually does have some turf pedigree to speak of, a Treasure Beach.
First time on turf for Future Fortune, who's been on synthetic 3 times with little success.
And the chances are starting to pile up with this one, a horse that's only making her 8th start now, but less upside than some of the others.
Archivist been on the turf against better company, so dropping down in class for now Linda Dixon.
This one's way too big of a price. Actually has that turf route experience, was running against tougher and now dropping in for a tag on the turf for the first time. 7-1, a generous price.
Kitten showed some ability sprinting on grass at the Meadowlands back in September.
And it's very turfy pedigree, being a Kitten's Joy, a Night of Thunder. Has some dirt success siblings, but this one is all turf and maybe just needs some time to figure things out.
Cruise Talk on your screen just went by at 8-1 for the McLean Robertson barn, and then Patara, first-timer outside as well for Chelsea Moisey.
A barn that doesn't necessarily have a ton of success with their first-time starters. We'll see what we get from this one.
Post time. Coming up for this 4th, let's check in for the first time today with Acacia Clement. How you doing, Acacia?
Hey, Greg. Hey, Sarah. As we had a little bit of light rain here in Tampa Bay, but has subsided now, as we are still on the turf for this 4th race, listed as good. And there's not a lot of form, as Sarah was touching on in the post parade, to really go on, and just a little bit of pedigree. So I'm just going off of how horses look. The 3 Turbo Millie, the one that is taking some attention on the board. I like her stretching out in distance. She's a big, lanky filly by Catholic Boy. I think that she'll like more ground. She's not overly turf looking for me, but Monica McGoey does do a good job in spotting her horses. Maybe has not had as many wins. She did take a step forward in her care last time out, and again, I think that she'll appreciate a little bit more ground. The 6 Platinum Diva, I really like getting back to the turf. I know that she didn't do much running in her turf debut. It was against better, and it was sprinting. She was very sharp and had a big warm-up under Charlie Marquez. She's half to multiple stakes place Passion Plus, who's a 9-time turf winner. Treasure Beach, a strong turf influence, and she looks like a turf horse. And then the 10 Cruise Talk, just a horse that kept catching my eye. She was a little bit green with the pony in the post parade, maybe mentally not totally clued in completely, but a first-time starter that I think is well spotted. They're being realistic about where she belongs. There's not a ton of turf pedigree on the bottom side, but certainly Frank Conversation, a good turf horse, and she has that proverbial turf hoof, kind of the flatter hoof, the slacker patterns, and looks pretty fit for debut. So we'll see what she does at 11-1. But they're loading in for race 4, only turf race of the day, and we'll send it up to track announcer Jason Beam for the rest of the load and call.
Turbo Millie coming up. Archivist has gone in. Archivist right now, it's 7-1. Turbo Millie and Cruise Talk going to be the next 2. Looks like we're waiting for Mobina, Beautifully Perfect, and Patara will be all set for a start. Today's 4th race, ready to kick off the Ultimate 6. Good to be back on the turf here. A lot of rain throughout the last week. Mobina moves in. Winning out Beautifully Perfect, and Patara will be all set for a start. John Geraldo and Patara are going to be the final one to join. Beautifully Perfect going up. Patara to the outside, one of 2 first-time starters in here. In fact, the 2 outside runners both making their debut. Here comes Patara. And she goes up and in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. Stately April from the inside in the yellow colors is out quickly. Future Fortune is handy and Beautifully Perfect, part of the early mix, trying to work over Archivist from the 8 post, and Archivist coming all the way up now to Poconos in front of Stately April as they come by the wire the first time. Beautifully Perfect was away in third. Patara showing good debut speed, rushes up now to join that third spot along with Platinum Diva. Beautifully Perfect now back 5th. In behind that comes Future Fortune in 6th. Toward the inside, Seafarer is 7th. In behind runners then comes Kitten, who's 8th. To the far outside, Cruise Talk is 9th. Then we come back to Turbo Millie, and Mobina is 11th and last as they have just over 5.5 furlongs remaining. 23 seconds for the opening quarter mile. Stately April, Vernon Bush takes advantage of that inside draw, cuts the corner, and has a length and a half in front of Archivist in second. Platinum Diva secures a good spot, third down along the fence, just a length and a half off the top. Patara, the first-time starter, is up close today, is 4th, only 2 lengths off the lead. It's a break of 3.5 more, then back to Future Fortune, who races in 5th. Cruise Talk on the outside starts to make a little bit of progress with Beautifully Perfect down to the fence. Seafarer is back 4th last, and behind that one is Turbo Millie, Kitten, and Mobina still the trailer. 48-2 for the opening half mile. It's Stately April and Archivist. Those two go by the 3/8 pole. They're just a length and a half in front of Platinum Diva. Patara stays out in the clear, pushed along to go after them from 4th as they wind around that far turn. Archivist now pokes a nose in front. Stately April tries to counter. Platinum Diva now swings to the outside, and here's Platinum Diva and Charlie Marquez with a decisive move. Seafarer has made up good ground, is up to 4th now, moves inside of Patara. Trying to rally up as well comes Turbo Millie, who's putting in a pretty good bid. They have just over a furlong left to go. Platinum Diva, Archivist, Seafarer right down the crown of the track. Turbo Millie going to look for a split. No, going to go to the outside as that door got shut. Seafarer makes the lead. Turbo Millie down the outside. It's Seafarer pulling away here with 50 yards to go. Turbo Millie might get second, but Seafarer gets the win. Second ended up close. I do think Turbo Millie might have got it from Platinum Diva. Long way back to Stately April and Archivist.
Seafarer surprising here on the grass at Tampa Bay, the daughter of the Derby winner Always Dreaming.
Yeah, surprise to maybe you and I, but not to the bettors apparently, as this horse was ended up going off as your favorite. And look, second-time starter, so plenty of upside with this one. Switching over to the turf for the first time, and a nice turn of foot once this horse got clear. Saw a good battle for second there as well with 2 other logical types, and the pace setters ended up finishing 4th and 5th.
Prices when we come back. We'll get into the late pick 5 in New York, and we'll take a look back at what happened on the road to the Kentucky Oaks Saturday in the Busanda. Brad Cox with Gin stepping up. What a week it was for Brad Cox in New York. Back with you on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. As we get set for the late pick 5 coming up on the Sunday card here in New York, we're going to take a look back to Saturday on the road to this year's Kentucky Oaks for 3-year-old fillies. Points on the line to get into that starting gate. So much talk about Shimmering Allure. She was the odds-on favorite. She was the filly to beat coming in. She did not show up. It was Jin Jin for Brad Cox coming up with the goods.
And she was able to sort of rebound after a kind of lackluster performance over at Churchill Downs, and she ran the exact same Beyer speed figure that she did run in that race. Turns out it was enough, and here Trevor McCarthy able to save ground, angle out, and get by your pace setter Princess Mayfair, who was trying this surface for the first time. And once she makes the front, she has those ears sort of go up at the wire and able to win pretty impressively. And the disappointment, as you mentioned, Shimmering Allure, just not her day. It was not coming back with the same kind of race that we had seen from her last time when she was running very well against a track bias behind Life Talk. She didn't show up, but Jin Jin did.
Brad Cox, 3rd stakes win in a week here in New York at Aqueduct. He won the ladies with comparative, the Jerome, drumroll please. Now this Kentucky Oaks qualifier with Jin Jin, she collects 20 points to get into that starting gate. Unlike the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, we're going to talk about fierceness a little bit later on in the program when we swap over to FS1 coverage. No real standout in terms of the breeders or the 3-year-old fillies this year, you know, looking back at what everyone did in their 2-year-old campaign.
I agree, and it seemed like the horses that were sort of hyped going into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies, Tamra, Candied, perhaps Life Talk as well. Tamra's now out with an injury to recover from. The Pletcher horses seem like they're well on their way, but nothing, as you mentioned, that have been standout performances, and I guess we're all anxiously awaiting the return of Just FYI.
Yeah, who was your Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies winner for Bill Mott? Plans for Jin Jin seem to be the Gazelle next up. Stay in New York, it sounds like, for Brad Cox. Going to talk it over with his homebred for Calumet Farm, but leaning towards that April 6th, as that's a 100-point qualifier for that Kentucky Oaks. Let's get back into today's action. And here's the one we were touching on as the other really big favorite we're going to see on this card today. We already saw a big favorite beat in the last race in the 4th, and this is Night Effect. Linda Rice, so much success, and there she is, setting that record last year. Most wins ever in a single season on the New York racing circuit, 165 wins. A lot of it, of her success, coming with these claims from Kentucky, bringing them here to New York, and this is one that just looks like maybe did not pan out. Claim for 50,000, and now the nosedive into 16 non-winners at 2.
Absolutely. It kind of seems like an outlier when you have those situations where those claims aren't working out for her. Of course, the winner of that race that she claimed this one out of has also been transferred to her barn. That's Natural Harbor, who's run twice for her in starter allowance company, able to hit the board in both of those starts. And look, she's had plenty of success with horses that she's claimed out of Kentucky, and sometimes it just so happens that they're not who you thought they were, or something happens along the way, and you need to run them where they fit. And that's why she's been able to win so many races. She spots her horses effectively, and this might be where he belongs.
It might just be big enough of a drop that, yeah, even though there's no form there from this horse against this group, it's not going to matter. Here's Bold Looker to kick off the post-parade. Trevor McCarthy aboard.
A rider that's been really outrunning his odds with a lot of his mounts and able to get some bigger, shorter-priced mounts. This one would have to improve a little bit, but it's a wide-open field behind Night Effect.
Here's the favorite. So big drop in class. Linda Rice first off the claim.
Even when he did win, it was at a huge price when he broke his maiden. He has numbers that are better than this field, but this drop is a little bit suspicious.
So price, so 25 to 1 for 19.
He's been a huge price in his last 3 starts, having more success over at Finger Lakes throughout his career overall.
Pat Reynolds taking over training duties with Uncle Waterflow.
It's possible that he didn't really appreciate the sloppy sealed surface last time out, going a little bit further. His race 2 back makes him a player.
There's Mudville 9, trained by Rudy Rodriguez.
On very short rest, we just saw him run on the 11th of January. He had a little bit of a trip in there in some traffic.
See a couple of huge long shots next. One of them, Mama Ban Me.
Should he be a bigger price than 39 to 1, perhaps?
Very little to endorse here, isn't there?
Yeah, I agree. He would need to show us with a race that he has not run in the past.
And Poppy on ice, at least the 7 has hit the board at this condition. That came 2 back at Saratoga.
Well, when he's had success, he has been a big price, just like he is today, kind of that proverbial grinding type, never really showing a big turn of foot. But the Randy Persaud barn, it's going well right now.
Maddie Over will ride at 25 to 1. Happy Bob, 9 to 2 for Dominic Schettino.
A horse that always seems to take some money. His last win coming against Maidens for a $20,000 tag. Since then, he's been sort of short prices and hasn't really run the same kind of race. He does like to be forwardly placed, though.
And Steady Progress, well named. 14th time was the charm. Finally broke through and broke his maiden, returning to New York at 1 1/8 miles.
Sometimes when they win, they do win right back, but this one would need to step it up a little bit against this kind of company, even though he is appropriately spotted based on the tag that he broke his maiden for last time out.
Interested to hear Mig's take on this 6-5 favorite, one of the most interesting runners probably on today's card. Mig, what do you think?
Well, guys, I think it's going to be all or nothing at all. He looked fine in the flesh in the paddock, nothing I could fault, but that precipitous drop in class, you claim horse for 50, in for 16. Listen, we know Linda Rice plays this game extremely hard and extremely well, and that's why she holds the mark for most wins in a single season here in New York. Spotting horses where she feels like they need to be to win. I'm looking elsewhere. That precipitous drop kind of scared me off in different directions. And there were just other horses, frankly, that I preferred more from a physical perspective, starting with the 4 Uncle Waterflow. If I was going to pick a horse purely on looks, he would absolutely be the top selection. What we try to do when we're looking at horses is match them up to what we see on paper. In a perfect world, you think they have a good chance from their proven form, and then you like what you see physically. Well, he is absolutely outstanding from a physical perspective, making his first start for trainer Pat Reynolds. Mudville 9 looks terrific. A horse coming back on 3 days rest. Asked Rudy Rodriguez, his conditioner, about the thought process, and he says just feels like he didn't try, and he wasn't tired at all out of the race. And horses are a lot like people. Some horses are extremely generous, extremely hardworking, and some are just lazy. And sometimes a move like this will wake a horse up, almost rattle their cage a little bit. He didn't look like a horse that ran 3 days ago. He's not tucked up at all. He looks terrific. And then Happy Bob. By Run Happy, Clayburn Farm stallion. He looks terrific for trainer Dominic Schettino, and I think he's loaned speed here, depending on what Mudville 9 does, who has a bit of speed himself. But I think Happy Bob might have an opportunity to control things from the outside with speed. He's going to be my top selection.
Mig, thanks. Yeah, Jackie Davis will be on board Happy Bob and has shown plenty of speed in the past, so we'll see if she tries to take advantage of that with his 5-year-old as they load up. So that horse right there, one of the big question marks on this Sunday card here in New York. Big drop down in class for Linda Rice, record-setting year last year on this circuit. Obviously did not plan on claiming for 50 and dropping in for 16, but
it's never the plan.
Against this field, may have what it takes. Actually did look pretty good warming up.
He did, and he should be kind of a standout in this group, right? From a physical perspective as well as on paper, and that's what you get. He's a likely single for a lot of people because it's just very wide open after him. So you either trust or you end up spreading with a lot of horses that are just very untrustworthy.
Late Pay 5 starts here. Let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin, the call. Can Night Effect get it done on the big drop?
Goes in. All set. And they're off. Mama Band Me breaks well from in between horses down towards the inside. Here's Night Effect. And Night Effect secures the front end and is clear. It's Night Effect in front. Happy Bob towards the outside with Steady Progress, trying to join this leader, and Mudville 9 is right off of them, is in 4th. It's another quick 5 lengths back here to Uncle Waterflow as they're really strung out here in the early stages. Bold Looker is towards the tail end of the field with Sorpreso. The 2 at the back, Pappy on Ice. And Mama Band Me, who broke on top, is the trailer. Night Effect has got the lead, 123.35 for the opening quarter mile, with Happy Bob engaged right towards the outside within a half length of the leader. Also right there is Steady Progress, is to the outside of Mudville 9, who's moving forward. Just off of them, about 5 lengths back now, further back in the field, as they are still very strung out here, is Uncle Waterflow. It's another 6, 7 lengths back here too. Sorpreso is back there with Bold Looker. Second to last, Pappy on Ice, and the trailer, Mama Band Me. They're well into the far turn right now, and Night Effect has got the lead. Went 46-4 for that half-mile time. Steady Progress and Lane Luzzy, they're on the move. They are now within 3/4 of a length of the leader. Losing some ground there is Happy Bob. Also trying to run on. Here comes Uncle Waterflow. Night Effect has got the lead at the top of the stretch, and Night Effect keeps going. Steady Progress is just grinding away up on the outside, trying to get to this favorite. It's still Night Effect fending him off. Night Effect is now back up by 2. Steady Progress continues to chase from way out there. Uncle Waterflow and also Bold Looker. They're rallying on late, but Night Effect just keeps on going. It is all Night Effect gonna crush here. Night Effect wins this one easily. Jose Lascano picks up another one. It's Night Effect over Steady Progress. Tight there for third. Looked like Uncle Waterflow in that photo with Bold Looker. In 1 minute, 39.36 seconds.
So this huge drop down in class, and it works out for Night Effect, able to get in front. I guess the bigger question, did anyone dip in and claim this horse off Linda Rice?
You have to think, right? Maybe the way people claim around here that somebody's at least a little bit interested, thinking that they could do something with him moving forwards, even if we don't see him back around that $50,000 range. And now perhaps targeting some sort of starter allowance with him, if so. But this was a dominant effort, and it should have been. But always right to perhaps question drops like this, but he was much the best against this group today.
18 to 1 shot gave chase, made it at least a little interesting mid-stretch, but then it was over from there. And back-to-back wins, Jose Lascano. This one fairly easy. And again, weights remains to be seen if this one is moving to a new barn. But short price favorite kicks off this late pick 5 on the Sunday card.
Would you claim him?
I would not. off the last 2 races, tough to believe this horse really had. I didn't pick the horse at all, so no, I didn't expect this.
I didn't either.
To happen today. A tough one to try and think that this horse has any left in the tank, but you're not spending a whole lot either. We'll see what happens. 16,000 the claim tag. We'll see if anyone did dip in. 18 to 1 underneath, and even with the favorite, that's how you create value in this game. And the exacta with an 18 to 1 shot underneath. Prices for you when we come back. Set up the late pick 4 next.
Adelphi Racing Club, offering a truly personal thoroughbred ownership experience.
You'll have a lot of fun and excitement, and you'll meet some great people. All the folks I've met so far at Adelphi have just been super, and I've picked up some new friendships along the way.
We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors, we are partners. Contact us online to get a taste of the Adelphi difference.
He's so impressive today, the others didn't even have a breath. Catholic boy rolls in the run. Happy Travers.
Catholic boy standing at Clayburn Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Everybody, welcome to Clayburn Farm. Clayburn Farm has been around since 1910. The tour is a backstage look at how we operate as a large-scale breeding farm. These are parts of the farm that have always been off limits to the public. You know, you would only see these barns and these horses up close if you worked out here. So it's been really exciting to open that to the public, to show that end of the industry and just spread that knowledge. You know, you take a group out they get to scratch on a mare in full, they think it's super cool and hopefully create a lifelong fan. So our stallions stand from anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000. That is a stand and nurse guarantee. So that fee is not paid until the next year after the mare has had her baby, the full stands, and everything is good. We have conceived 22 Kentucky Derby winners, 19 Preakness winners, 22 Belmont winners, and 29 Breeders' Cup winners. In addition to that, 6 of the 13 Triple Crown winners have been conceived in our breeding shed. So I'm always excited to, spread the knowledge that I've had, share this passion for the breeding industry that I've had basically my entire life, and just spread the wealth. Basically, all of our tours are sold out. That's just absolutely fantastic. Sometimes we'll try to sneak in 1 or 2 extra people onto the trolley. It's a yearling colt field. Actually, this field is home of 2013 Kentucky Derby winner Orb, as well as Breeders' Cup Classic winner Flame. The cemetery is extremely popular. It's on both types of tours that we offer, so the trolley tour and the walking tour. People travel from all over the world to see Secretariat's grave. So it's really exciting to see people's reaction to seeing that. Secretariat, the 1973 Triple Crown winner. I just want to thank everybody for coming on this tour. This is a tour that we've been really excited about. We're really excited to open up this side of the operation to the public. I think Clayburn is just absolutely iconic when it comes to horse racing. I don't think you can think of horse racing without thinking of Secretariat and Clayburn Farm.
Back with you on our FS2 coverage. America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by legendary Clayburn Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Late pick 5 underway with this horse right here, the big class dropper, Linda Rice, claimed for 50, nosedive in for 16,000, non-winners at 2, and found the right field to get it done today.
And I guarantee a lot of tickets still alive after this race, probably a very heavy single within any of the late multi-race sequences. I will say when Linda Rice drops in class like this, a 50% drop in claiming price, 34%, but they don't pay much.
And was claimed going to a new barn. So we'll be leaving Linda Rice. Recoups a little bit of that $50,000 purse money plus that $16,000 claim. Still going to wind up on the negative side, but
She's got plenty on the
doesn't hurt to get
positive
a little
side.
bit
It's
back.
okay.
Early pick 5, over $760 coming back. Races 1 through 5. We'll get to the pick 4 coming up. We head back to Tampa Bay Downs. Mile and 40 yards in this maiden special weight, and some big name barns showing up here. Todd Pletcher barn. Christophe Clement, who sends out this one atrocious by Go Sapper, who debuts with Sammy Camacho.
The source has some pedigree. The dam, multiple grade 1 placed. Very interested to see what we get from this one first time out.
Now won the Ruffian as well, multiple graded stakes winner. Idle Union debuted sprinting at Monmouth in August.
Stretching out with maidens, this is a barn that is winning at 19%. Would need to improve a little bit, but has had plenty of time to grow and mature since that debut in August.
Another look at the Clement runner for Reeves Thoroughbred. Smooth player. Turf back to dirt today for Juan Avila.
First time on a fast dirt track. There isn't a ton of pedigree with this horse, but he has okay stats turf to dirt with maidens.
Should see speed. We'll see what happens with Officer Derek. Did go long in the grass last time out. We'll see if that dulls that speed at all.
He does have a decent dirt sprint race here. 57 Beyer speed figure when finishing 3rd behind Mischief Joke, who we just saw the other day finish 2nd to Elysian Meadows. And kind of a big price because all that money is going to that Todd Pletcher trainee in number 5, Tireless.
Now, there's 2 Todd Pletchers in here, and there's a lot of buzz about the one who's a bigger price as well. Tireless is the one who started 3 times, did run 2nd on a race taken off the turf at Churchill last start. The 5.
Horse that's been favored in his last 3 races, and it looks to go as your favorite today. But as you mentioned, this one also shouldn't be overlooked either. Very interesting first-time starter for Todd, kind of that other Todd, a full-to-a winner who won her 2nd start in Carla.
A 2-time winning sprinter, the dam. So debuting here for Pletcher, 3-1. And then outside, Gran Yaco, 8 2-1. Turf back to dirt.
He's been hitting the board. He could find this to be a tougher field, but he has shown forward position on the dirt.
Post time coming up for the 5th. Let's check in with Acacia as we get set for the pick 5.
And as you mentioned, Greg, it does seem that Todd Pletcher sends out a pretty formidable duo. Taking a look at Tireless, who is the favorite. He ran well in that off-the-turf race, and you could argue how much stock do you really put into that? Is he a horse that actually does prefer the dirt? I thought that all in all, he put a good performance forth, as we do see the number 7 Gran Yaco just unseated his rider, Carlos Olivero. That horse has been very, very revved up in all of the preliminaries. From my vantage point, I believe Carlos was able to hold on to the reins, but we'll keep an eye on that. So Gran Yaco parting ways momentarily with his rider in the warm-up. But back to Tireless, a horse that you can see that he's had a few races under his belt. Incredibly fit, very, very athletic, whereas with the other Todd Pletcher, horse and roughshod, maybe just still needs a little bit of fine-tuning, a little bit of furnishing that only really comes with racing. But Tireless, I did notice that he flipped back to his left lead late in that stretch, and I'm just hoping we get to see a little bit more from him today. Certainly off of that race, he is the one to beat, but I am intrigued by the 2 first-time starters. And here, speaking of that stablemate roughshod, as I mentioned, I do think will do better for a race, but you can watch his workouts on XBTV at Palm Beach Downs, and he's been very impressive in the morning, the way that he's been working in preparation for this race in company, just galloping out so much stronger than his mates. And there is some pedigree in there as well, actually, on the bottom side. Cousin, I guess, of Hot Rod Charlie and Matoli. A little bit further down in the pedigree, Medaglia d'Oro, certainly a beautiful influence, and just warmed up nicely. Just like I said, I think will kind of fine-tune a little bit, but it looks like there's a lot of ability and talent there. The number 2, Atrocious, first-time starter, as Sarah mentioned, out of 50 Shades of Hay. She won the Black-Eyed Susan. She was second in the Alabama, multiple grade 1 place, and has been a good producer, including stakes winner locally owned, who, as we know, the longer the better for that horse, and distance definitely looks like it's the friend of Atrocious. He's a horse that wants the ground, a big, solid son of Go Sapper, as the number 7, Gran Yaco, has been apprehended by the Outriders after running off from his rider. Is a late scratch now. So the 7 Gran Yaco, just announced by track announcer Jason Beam. Greg, the 7 Gran Yaco, after unseating his rider, is a late scratch in this upcoming 5th race.
All right, Acacia, thank you. So take out the 7, taking a look at one of the duo here for Todd Pletcher. That's the one with experience, and with the 7 coming out, price dips down a little more on this horse. Odds on at 4-5.
He's been a short price in his past couple of races, and look, probably deserves to be. He's run well, especially last time out, and maybe you look at that 71 buyer that he earned last time in that off-the-turf race, and you really wonder if he's going to replicate that again, and generally I'm a little bit suspect of taking those off-the-turf numbers, but I will say the horse that he was defeated by in that race, he did return and run the same 73 buyer that he earned when third to Change of Command, who looks like an exciting horse that is likely going to be on the Kentucky Derby trail for the McGahee barn. So it seems as though that figure has held up in terms of what we're likely to see next time out in here. So maybe today's the day for him, but it seems like he runs into some live first-time starters yet again. Yeah, potentially. We'll see. Certainly Clement and Stablemate, the other Todd Pletcher roughshod, both first-timers that look like they may have some ability. 3-5 now, though, on the horse with that experience on the dirt last time out for Pletcher. Atrocious, hoping not named because of his ability. There's another horse that Dan produced named Extraordinary, so maybe trying to stay within that name frame there. We'll see what we get from this Clement runner, who has a couple of bullet drills showing up on the page. Also, the second dam was grade 1 placed, so there's quite a bit of pedigree. And for 50 Shades of Hay, the horse that was so consistent at the graded stakes level, even when she was running second or third, she was chasing horses in her career like Beholder, Princess of Silmar, even Close Hatches. So certainly kept some very solid company when we think of that time period and who was the best then. She was running right there with them. Those are champions. Yeah, you mentioned she was a millionaire in her own right in her career. So 3-1 right now on Atrocious. 1-2. Did not expect to see all this money. That's a little too short. On Tireless. Spent a lot of money on this horse. $875,000. Son of the sire, not this time. And it's not as though there's been a ton of direct pedigree yet. There's only been one other foal who's only won once at a lower level. So certainly must have seen something that they like with this horse from a physical perspective, or further back in the page on the pedigree, to be going to those lengths to spend for a horse that still seems to be figuring things out and putting them together. Awfully short price to be taking at this time.
Spend that kind of money, this barn, these owners, St. Elias Stable, Rapoli, and obviously they have hopes that this is going to turn into a Kentucky Derby Triple Crown contender for them.
You would imagine.
Fifth coming up at Tampa Bay. We're going to switch over. We'll be on FS1 after this short break. Welcome to those just joining us on our FS1 coverage. You're watching America's Day at the Races. Live coverage, second half of the card coming up from Tampa Bay Downs. That's going to be our first live action of the day, and in South Ozone Park, New York at Aqueduct, where the Franklin Square feature race for 3-year-old New York-bred fillies sprinting still to come. Right now, though, this fifth at Tampa. Greg Wolf, Sarah Elbadwi with you. Maiden special weight. Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher with 2 in here. Tireless, the favorite, the 5 for him. Let's go to Jason Beam.
They're in the gate. And the race is on. Idle Union from the inside got away well. Up from the outside, Rough Shot. Between them, Officer Derek. It's going to be Rough Shot and Officer Derek. Those two sprinting to that first turn in front, already a length and a half to Idle Union. Atrocious at a tight spot there in fourth. Right to that one's outside goes Tireless. It's another 3 back to Smooth Player, who's at the back. Up on the front end, though, Rough Shot able to clear off. Michael Sanchez and Rough Shot in front, 2.5 now to Officer Derek. Down on the inside, Idle Union tugs up to be third. The length more back to Tireless, who's fourth right now in the early going, about 4.5, 5 off the pace. Atrocious is back second last, and it's 3 more, then back to Smooth Player. The opening quarter clocked at 24-1. They start their run down the back stretch. And on the front end, it's the debut runner, Rough Shot, who leads it just over a length and a half. To Officer Derek, who travels pretty nicely in the second position. Tireless is moving up a little bit up on the outside of Idle Union, who's now back to fourth. 2.5 more back to Atrocious, who's guided toward the outside, and Smooth Player still last. They take their run past the half-mile pole, the opening half at a pretty modest 49 3/5 seconds. Rough Shot is the leader. The stablemate Tireless coming up on the far outside. Between them comes Officer Derek. They're 1, 2, 3. It's a length and a half, 2 more then. Back to Atrocious, and down on the inside, Idle Union, a long way back to Smooth Player. Rough Shot and Tireless, these two now speeding around to the quarter pole. Officer Derek drops out. Atrocious takes over third, but at the top of the stretch, it's Rough Shot just in front. Tireless and Joe Bravo breathing down that one's neck on the outside. Atrocious looms 2 lengths back. Idle Avenue switches to the outside from fourth as they have just over a furlong left to go. Tireless and Rough Shot, these two stablemates hook up with 150 yards left to go. Rough Shot on the inside, Tireless on the outside. Tireless forges to a narrow advantage. Rough Shot back to second and neck. It's Tireless just in front. Rough Shot second. Tireless going to go on to win a prolonged stretch battle there over Rough Shot. Long way back to Idle Union. Late run from Smooth Player.
Stablemates 1-2 here for Hall of Fame trainer Todd Pletcher, and Tireless able to get the win. That's one with experience, but keep your eyes on Rough Shot down the line. Never easy to win going around a ground in your debut. This was a nice debut.
It was almost the other Todd Pletcher able to get the victory, but it was Tireless, the more fancied of the 2 runners, the one with experience who had that nice buyer speed figure last time at Churchill Downs, able to get the win at a very short price.
Greg Wolf, Sarah Elbadwi, glad to have you with us on our Sunday coverage. Late pick 4 coming up. Meanwhile, back here in New York in South Ozone Park, and our feature part of that's that Franklin Square 3-year-old New York-bred filly sprinting. 6.5 furlongs, coming up. And plenty of speed, as we talked about, signed up in this race. We'll see if we get a repeat, though, of what happened in the Key Sense. Kara's time, tried to go gate to wire in that race in Tricky Temper. Able to get by her late. She's got to deal with that filly again.
She does, and this is a horse that will have some pace pressure on the front end. As you mentioned, a horse coming in from Finger Lake Sweet Brown Sugar, as well as Flight Control, making her second start, likely to join her on the front end. And she's been ultra consistent, but not quite able to seal the deal. And it looks like on paper that she's going to likely be run down again, possibly by Tricky Temper, who was able to get by her here in the Key Sense. Maybe by My Main Squeeze, or perhaps by another horse coming from off the pace, and Bernie Takes Charge, a competitive group signed up for the Franklin Square.
Yeah, plenty, even with Solo Shot coming out, it was going to provide some pace, plenty more that they want to be forward in this spot. So it looks like it sets up right for, if not Tricky Temper, someone else who wants to come from off the pace. That's our 8th today, our feature race on this Sunday card. Right now it's the 6th coming up to kick off The late pick 4, it's a New York bred maiden special weight, 6 furlongs, and the Shoe Lady debuting for Christophe Clement.
Another Christophe Clement first-time starter, this one in New York. A little bit of pedigree with this one. He has some very good numbers, first-time starters in dirt sprints.
Hall of Famer Bill Mott with Book of Wisdom has been favored 2 of the last 3 starts.
And drops in company from the New York Stallion Series stakes. She was 4-1 in there, a short price in her other starts, looking to get back on track.
Here's Carol T. Manny Franco for Jose Jimenez.
Blinkers come off for this horse who did not show speed, surprisingly, in her last start. We'll see if she changes back to those front-running tactics today.
Rumant for primarily jump trainer Kerry Brion.
A little bit of pedigree, this one on Munnings. He has some good numbers with his first-time starters and a very dirt sprint meant.
Blinkers on, getting Lasix, the 5, Zen Lu.
I would need a little bit of a turnaround in terms of how fast she's run so far, but these are young horses, and that's not out of the question.
First-time starter here for Bob Clasera's barn, Apollonia C.
Not really known for their debut runners. He's 1 for 22 first-time starters over the past 5 years.
And double-digit odds outside for Troubled Luck for Ed DeLaurel.
She has the experience of this group, but it seems as though others have run faster, and there could be some interesting debut runners as well.
Winningest rider in the history of this racetrack with us as well. Let's go downstairs, check in with Richard Migliori.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. And we'll start the inside. First-time starter, the 1, the Shoe Lady, homebred for Barry Schwartz's Stonewall Farm. Just a very classy individual. She just seemed extremely smart. When we're looking at first-time starters, we kind of want to see them kind of take the whole experience in and have that clarity in their eye and that kind of suppleness to it. And I see that with the Shoe Lady. She was good with the pony, and she looks ultra fit. The 2-horse Book of Wisdom, your favorite. She looks terrific. There's nothing I can say but positives about how she looks from a physical perspective. She has had, 5 chances. She tried the Stallion Stakes last time, and she makes a lot of sense. I am going to go with the 4-horse, another first-time starter, Rumant, for Kerry Brion. This is a horse that if you look at her work tab, and you guys know I don't care much about times of works, but spacing of works. So she was training in Saratoga over the summer, and then September 2nd, she had a break. So obviously she had a little issue or something they had to deal with, but then she started training again on October 24th, and she has not missed a beat since. She has worked basically every 6 or 7 days since. That tells you a horse has no interruptions in their training. They're healthy. They're doing well. I asked Kerry Brion about her, habits. How is she? She says she's done everything right. I said, how is she away from the starting gate? She says she's broken extremely well in the mornings. Now she has to do it with a field of horses. But looking at her from a physical perspective, she looks fit and very well prepared.
All right, 4-1 right now, Mig. Thanks. Kerry Brion, of course, took over for Hall of Famer, jump trainer Jonathan Shepard, primarily jump trainer, and she's had so much success and now transitioning over with thoroughbreds. And we'll see what happens here with this first-time starter of the 4.
And she's doing well while doing it. She's had a lot of those horses that are more turf meant, that are sort of able to handle the hurdles as well as those more marathon distances going over the flat on the turf. But she's really expanded into having success at all types of races and now tries here with a young horse dirt sprinting.
For those who were not with us, the previous race, we were on FS2. We had big question marks about a heavy favorite in that race. Wound up winning on a big drop in class. There's question marks with this favorite as well. That too just left your screen. Book of Wisdom, isn't there?
She's just had her opportunities, and her best race was a second-place finish in her second start. Since then, has not been able to replicate that 62 buyer that she earned that day. A horse that has shown some good early speed without taking the lead. She can be forward, but is likely to sit just off of a horse in Carol T if she can refine some of the early speed that she had shown in the past.
Book of Wisdom, nevertheless, being the beaten favorite 2 of the last 3 starts. This 2 filly, the 7-5 favorite. Pick 4 starts here on our Sunday card. Let's go upstairs. Chris Griffin, the call.
Apollonia C now moves forward. Eliseo Ruiz. Troubled Luck to the outside. Goes in. All set. And they're up. Speed to the outside from Troubled Luck. Right out to the front, and Zen Lu is in the early mix and also trying to join them. Here comes the firster. Rumant is now going to be at the rail. Makes it 3 across the racetrack. The Shoe Lady is now in behind Book of Wisdom. Is towards the tail end of the field there is Carol T. And Apollonia C is the trailer at back of the pack, but pretty tightly bunched now, only about 3.5 to cover them all. To the inside, it's Rummant, who's got the head in front, and Rummant holds that rail position, went 23-1 for the opening quarter mile. Zenlu, the big long shot, is right to the outside, and Book of Wisdom, Jose Lescano looking for a way through, just had to wait for some room, as Troubled Luck is going to hold that 3-wide position. Apollonia C is making up some ground, 4 wide. Also in there, the Shoe Lady. Anyone with the shot here is Carol T, is only 2.5 off the lead. Rummant has got the lead. The rail is now open for Book of Wisdom. Had some run looking for a way through, is going to tip to the outside of the leader, Rummant, who now sprints for home. It's Rummant who's still in front. Book of Wisdom in full pursuit, but Rummant just keeps on going. Rummant is not stopping here at 7-2. Book of Wisdom, Apollonia C inside that final furlong. Rummant is running very nicely here. The 3-year-old by Munnings inside the final 16th. It is all Rummant. Rummant debuts and wins nicely. Rummant gets the victory over Apollonia C. Then came Book of Wisdom and the Shoe Lady in 1 minute 14-3.
First time starter, Rummant. For steeplechase trainer Carrie Bryan, it's a win first time out. With this one, I believe, bet down late, 7-2.
Nice call by Richard Migliore with this one, a horse that was very sharp away from the gate and was part of a very contested pace. All those other horses that were involved early faded late. Seemed like Book of Wisdom was looking for some room and had every opportunity to go by, but this horse kept on finding and was able to hold off the long shot first time starter in Apollina C towards her outside, who ran very well to pick up some pieces late, but this horse was gone.
Impressive in this debut. Kendrick Carmouche aboard for the win. Again, 7-2 at post time. And something to build off here with this first out victory. Kendrick trying to take a peek back, no one coming. That big long shot weighs back to that one. 4-6, 2-1. And again for Book of Wisdom, third time the last 4 starts for the 2. She's been beat as the favorite. Prices from this one when we come back. Our feature, again, still to come in that Franklin Square. Back right after this. Back with you on America's Day at the Races on our FS1 coverage. It's brought to you in part by legendary Clayburn Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. And a first-time starter for Carrie Bryan. Again, primarily steeplechase trainers. Had so many big efforts taken over for Jonathan Shepard. Grade 1 wins. And now wins with a first-time starter, which is, gotta believe, her first.
Well, first over the past 5 years, and since she has been primarily involved with those steeplechase horses, you have to imagine it is the first for her. She hasn't started many in dirt sprints overall. I think this was the 9th, and able to get the win with this one as I think the first one. And you had the Munnings Exacta in this race, which returns $52 for $1.
Yeah, sire of both these top two finishers, Munnings, room at $9 for the win. Always popular to see Kendrick Carmouche in the winner's circle. Heard a big scream from the fans that are braving these elements. It was snowing earlier today out in the weather. Love to see him getting his picture taken. We move on to race 7. Entry level allowance coming up here, 7 furlongs. And Ocean's Reserve, we expected to see take plenty of money. Horse has been in very sharp form of late.
He's just so consistent. He was against the racetrack 2 back. He was going a little bit shorter than he prefers last time out. He's running numbers that are just so consistent overall, a very consistent board hitter too. It makes sense that he's your favorite as of now and likely to go off that way.
More to come on the 7th when we return on our coverage here in South Ozone Park. We'll get you back out to Tampa Bay as well. Race 6 coming up next. Mile and 40 yards, allowance optional claiming field. Crazy Mason, contender in that one, and a horse who faced grade 1 hopeful winner Nutella Fella.
Adelphi Racing Club, offering a truly personal thoroughbred ownership experience.
You'll have a lot of fun and excitement, and you'll meet some great people. All the folks I've met so far at Adelphi have just been super, and I've picked up some new friendships along the way.
We're not just a syndicate, and our members aren't just investors, we are partners. Contact us online to get a taste of the Adelphi difference.
Catholic boy standing at Clayburn Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Gainesway encompasses 1,500 acres of the finest bluegrass land in Kentucky. The property includes the former Green Tree Stud in Whitney Farm and is home to Tappet. Tappet has emerged as one of the most influential and breed-shaping stallions of the past half-century.
Well, Tappet has been an absolutely amazing horse for us, probably the best horse that's ever been at Gainesway for over 100 years. He's made us look really good at Gainesway.
Tappet's shoulders are broad. He's really taken Gainesway to a new level. He's just made us appreciate what a horse like him can do for the farm. He's
produced incredible runners year after year after year. You had Flightline, who's one of the best horses I've ever seen in my whole life.
It is Flightline. It is spine-tingling, jaw-dropping, awe-inspiring, Secretariat-like Breeders' Cup Classic win.
We're happy that he's still going strong, but it just reminds us that we'd love to find a horse remotely as good to fill his shoes, and It's Mr. Beck's goal to increase our chances at that and bring more horses into syndicate structure.
Gainesway roster's a young, up-and-coming roster. Clearly we have Tappet as the anchor, but we've got Olympiad, Drain the Clock as new horses. We've got McKenzie, Spun to Run, Raging Bull, all have weanlings or yearlings still. It's a young roster with full of possibilities.
I'm so happy we took a shot on McKenzie. He's rewarded our faith in him so far. He's bred full books for 3 years at stud, which is kind of rare these days. And his first crop of weanlings were very well accepted at the sales. We think he's got a big shot. We're really excited to see what he's going to do.
Gainesway strives for excellence, both on the racetrack and in the sales ring. Its general manager, Brian Graves, grew up around promising thoroughbreds. Brian's father, Bill, longtime Fasig-Tipton vice president, introduced him to the game.
I think our success with Fasig-Tipton was grown organically. So when I came to Gainesway in my early 20s, one of my driving desires was to create a consignment business. And so naturally, my father and I would work together. And I discovered the magic of Saratoga during those early years and what kind of horse can thrive there.
Now that's what the Tappets are supposed to look like, just like his dad, who of course is the leading sire in North America and has held that position pretty much since his first full crop hit the racetrack.
Gainesway's always tried to focus on quality, whether it be our sale consignments or the stallions we bring in. It's Mr. Beck's idea that we should focus on quality, and we try to help our clients achieve as much success as possible, and I get a big kick out of that.
Back with you on our FS1 coverage, America's Day at the Races. And take you out to Tampa Bay Downs, approaching the 4-minute mark to post for race 6 coming up, which is going to kick off a pick 4. Mile and 40 yards, allowance optional claiming field. And we'll get to the post parade here in a moment. Crazy Mason right now favored, and we'll see in just a moment, trained by Gregory Sacco, and a horse who was just second in a stakes sprint the last time we saw him.
Opts to run here instead of yesterday's Pasco might be the right move given how Bookham Dano ran. I kind of worry that he might be a better sprinter, but he's handled going a little bit further in the past as well.
So 9-5 favorite. There he is for the Gregory Sacco barn, who campaigned Mind Control. That was his first ever Grade 1 winner. Tuscan Ruler, blinkers on, and Lasix.
The only time he's tried to go a route of ground was in the Sapling, won by Noted. Dornock second in that race. Maybe deserves another chance routing.
Ninja Star, only dirt start, actually threw his head pretty bad at the beginning of that race and faced a really good one who started 4 for 4.
Kind of an unknown on this surface, and the price reflects that.
Love That Bird, off since November at Finger Lakes.
A horse that we haven't seen in a while. His one win was dirt routing, though, as you mentioned, at Finger Lakes.
Dirt debut for the 5. It was a win, but against a lot easier.
And now stepping up in class, and he'll have to improve a bit to be competitive here.
Now the favorite. Here's Secret Lover.
Horse that had quite a few chances to break his maiden, just doing so last time out over a sloppy sealed surface at Gulfstream.
An only dirt start, been on turf the next 3. Fulmineo had to face Nutella Fella in the debut, who would win the Grade 1 hopeful at Saratoga.
So certainly facing a decent rival that day, when third at Delaware. Route experience since then, however, all on the turf and likely being bet because of that turf form.
Third choice on the board, though, right now. As we're 3 minutes to post, let's check in for the first time today in our FS1 coverage with Acacia Clement.
And Greg, looking forward to this race. As Sarah mentioned, Crazy Mason opting not to run in the Pasco yesterday, and we'll get a little bit more distance in this allowance as well, out to the 1 and 40 yards versus the 7 furlongs of that stake yesterday. And while I agree that his better races have been sprinting, including that open length win when breaking his maiden going 5.5 up at Saratoga, physically, he actually looks like a horse that wants more ground. He's very big. There's a lot of size, a lot of scope to him. However, his demeanor kind of strikes you a little bit more as a sprinter type. He's really sharp, very much on his toes. I remember in the Saratoga race, he was very kind of green with the pony, a little bit distracted prior to that race. And he's obviously more focused and a little bit more mature now, making his 3-year-old debut, but he's still a very high energy individual. And he he was not the quickest out of the gate when going 6 furlongs last time out. I wonder if they're also hoping that going a little bit more distance will give him some time to get into the race a little bit more, especially as he acts so sharp in the preliminaries. But interested to see what he does coming out of 3 consecutive stakes tries. The 7 Fulmineo also coming out of stakes company, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last time out in November after a very good race behind Agate Road in the Pilgrim, where there was an inquiry. If you remember, there was some bumping in the stretch in that Pilgrim, and Fulmineo, I thought, actually probably took the worst of it that day. He was really on the muscle in that Pilgrim, the only time that I've seen him before. Much more laid back today. He definitely has matured a lot. And while he does have a little bit of the slacker passer and the flatter hoof type, I don't mind him going back to the main track. And as Greg mentioned, in his first race, when he was a distant third behind a Telefella, that horse would come back to win the hopeful. We haven't seen him since then, unfortunately, but of course flattered by that effort. And that was going 5.5 furlongs, where I think that this son of Boldoro does prefer more distance as well. We'll see what he does with the surface switch, but if he can handle it, it definitely opens up a few more opportunities for Arnaud Delacour. And then the 6 Secret Lover, who was facing Florida Bred Stakes Company as a maiden prior to that, and even finishing second at 32-1 2 starts back. He was just so much the best against that maiden optional claiming last time, where if you're a Florida bred in those races at Gulfstream, you don't have to run for the claiming tag, so like a maiden special weight opportunity. And it was on a wet track. He's pretty athletic, does wear those shortcut blinkers and seems pretty clued in coming in here. I guess it will be a big test because he kind of has a little bit of dirtied up form, kind of being thrown right into those stakes races, and then finally just breaking his maiden at the short price favorite last time. It was an improved effort where he was able to circle the field after being last early, but he's not going to be able to be successful with that kind of trip against this group. But intriguing to see. Some of these horses have some things to prove as of yet, Greg.
Yeah, they certainly do. Thank you, Acacia. Crazy Mason, though, ran very good in stakes company on this racetrack last time out. I would think that makes him the horse to beat.
I think so. I think that he has the most proven dirt form overall. He earned a 71 Beyer speed figure for that second in the inaugural. We saw Rathmore contest the Pasco yesterday behind Bookham Dano, and even his route races. It was over a muddy sealed surface at Delaware. He was running behind Copper Tax, but he was third that day at a decent price at 11-1. So it seems to me as though he is kind of the horse to beat based on dirt form and the company that he's kept. And I guess it really all goes through those 3 horses that we've mentioned, Crazy Mason, the 1, the number 6, Secret Lover, and the 7, Fulmineo, but he seems like he should be the favorite, and now he clicks over to 9-5.
And, you know, back to Fulmineo, he's going to break from the outside, that 7. Obviously, that attracts a lot of attention when you face a Grade 1 winner, Nutella fellow, first time out. He only got a very slow speed figure in that debut, but it was his first ever start. You can forgive that. But we should talk about the hopeful. It was not the quickest Grade 1 ever run for 2-year-olds.
It's a
pretty
generous
slow
way of
figure
phrasing
that
it.
day. And, you know, off that, and Crazy Mason is the favorite now. I just think there's a little more, at least recency with that horse to believe that he's the one to beat. But, I mean, you look at Fulmineo, obviously he's talented. They Grade 2 placed on grass, and they put him in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf.
And he has the best numbers, but those are on the grass. So it kind of remains to be seen how fast he really is going a route of ground on the dirt. But I think you bring up some great points that it was just his first start. He certainly improved after that. And was it totally the surface switch? Was it the added distance? Or was it just that racing experience? And I think maybe today's the day to find out for him if he can really be competitive in these 3-year-old route races on dirt moving forwards.
Some of the speed of this field. One of them's a huge long shot. Love that bird. The Tuscan Ruler, the 2, might be part of that pace as well. Adding blinkers. Was not far off the pace last time out in a similar spot. Loading up Jason Beam with the call. Here's the 6 from Tampa Bay Downs.
Code Enforcer going to be next. Secret Lover, Joe Bravo looking for a race-to-race double. As we just await Fulmineo, Daniel Centeno for Arnaud Delacour to the outside. Goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. Fulminio got away a couple of steps slow, came away last. Good start for Tuscan Ruler, Ninja Star. Those two head out for the early advantage. Crazy Mason up the inside third as they run to that first turn. In behind that comes a lineup of three. Love That Bird, Code Enforcer, Secret Lover out 3 wide. And after the slow beginning, Fulminio is at the back, but they're going slow up front as Tuscan Ruler takes them in just a modest tempo here midway on that first turn. Ninja Star up to second. Down to the inside, Crazy Mason pulling up Secret Lover on the outside is now up to fourth. And behind that, Code Enforcer, Fulminio's now out of last, and Love That Bird is the trailer. 26-1, so they are going quite a bit slowly as they go up the back stretch. It is Tuscan Ruler in front. Tuscan Ruler by a length to Ninja Star. Length and a half more back to Secret Lover, Crazy Mason. Those two third and fourth. Fulminio getting closer now from the outside, is now up to fourth as they continue that slack pace up front. Code Enforcer's back second last, and Love That Bird is the trailer, about 6 lengths off the lead with a half mile left to go. Tuscan Ruler, just moderate pressure here from Ninja Star, 51-4 for the opening half mile time. Secret Lover, Fulminio going to be 4 deep as they run into that far turn. It's 2 more back to Crazy Mason, who's now dropped 3 off the top. Another 3 then back to Code Enforcer and Love That Bird as they wind around the far turn. Fulminio, Secret Lover, those two coming up 4 and 3 wide respectively. Holding the rail, Tuscan Ruler set those slow fractions, still has some run left down on the inside. They come to the top of the stretch. Tuscan Ruler on the inside, out 3 deep, Fulminio. Secret Lover now back third, going to switch toward the outside. Crazy Mason is starting to find stride on the far outside. A final furlong to go. Fulminio down the outside, Crazy Mason. Tuscan Ruler now back to third. Fulminio has to make another 16th. Here comes Crazy Mason charging on the outside. Fulminio, Crazy Mason with progress on the outside. Crazy Mason, Fulminio, Crazy Mason got it. Fulminio was second, Secret Lover third, Tuscan Ruler finished fourth.
Crazy Mason relentless here in the stretch to run down Fulminio for the win here. Second win now in 6 starts.
And both of these top 2 finishers had some trouble early on with Fulminio sort of breaking out and being further back versus Crazy Mason was stuck in behind horses. Didn't seem all too comfortable with that trip, but once he switched to the outside, really got going. And as Jason B mentioned in the call, that relentless rally, able to just get up for the win.
And I find it hard to believe those fractions, especially early, but if they were correct, Crazy Mason, I mean, even more impressive what he was able to do to come from off the pace.
Yeah, if true, it's kind of like a New York turf race around there, though the pace didn't fully hold together.
Back to New York, race 7 here in this entry-level allowance at 7/8 of a mile. We'll see the entry first, and here is Critical Threat, who does have the rail. First off the claim with the Cantor-Machi Barn.
A horse that is stepping up in class, but did finish behind Don't Be Late, who did come right back to win.
Other half of the entry, major player 2, Kunshin Bridge, Jose Lezcano aboard.
Leaving the Linda Rice Barn and drop to get the win, that confidence boost might be enough for him.
Question marks with his Chad Brown entry, post 4 for reserve currency. Of late has not been very good.
No, he hasn't. In savings rate, he has some upside being lightly raced, but his last race was not very good either.
Yeah, he'll break to the outside. Here's a 3, Looney Sema gets post 2.
We'll see if he can get back to some of his form of last year. Those races would compete, the recent ones not so much.
Chris Engelhardt, second off the claim, and was a first off the claim win with Narciso Dali.
Perhaps a tougher field than he faced last time, but he did improve quite a bit.
Cup went by. We'll see speed from the 6, no question. And here's Defusky Island, who is very quick.
He's had some excuses over his last couple of races in traffic. Last time, a horse that does show early speed.
And the horse to beat, Ocean's Reserve, just missed last time out at this level.
And a horse that was against the racetrack 2 back as well, sort of taken out of his game, showing that early speed that we had not seen from him in quite some time. Trying to take advantage of the racetrack was Javier Castellano. It didn't quite work out. Now he gets a fair racetrack, going his preferred 7 for long distance.
Been first or second in 11 of his 18 starts, the 8 Ocean's Reserve. He's the 9-5 favorite. Let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, guys, just so you know, temperature's starting to really drop now, and we got a real steady wind coming off of Jamaica Bay. It has gotten considerably colder in the last 20 minutes. The 1A Kunshin Bridge is really making a nice impression, checks all the boxes. I think he's got the right style for the race, too, and he was 9-1 a few moments ago. Now he's 7-1. I think he's a major player here. The 6-horse Cup from the Wayne Potts barn. When they pulled the blanket off of this horse, it was like unveiling a brand new car. Boy, he's just as shiny and well turned out as a horse can be. I do think he'll probably sit off of Dan Fusky Island and see if he can just rate from just off the pace. And then your favorite makes a lot of sense here, Ocean's Reserve. He's well drawn outside. I think he gets enough pace to run at. All of his wins have come at 7 furlongs. He has compiled a lot more seconds than wins, but I think with a well-judged ride here by Lane Luzzy, he is certainly a very deserving favorite.
All right, Mig, brave those elements. Not going to tell you what Sarah was saying about the temperature in our enclosed studio here just a few moments ago.
It's nothing compared to
I know,
what Meg is dealing with outside. But yes, so I'm not going to complain to him, that's for sure.
What do you make? 7-2 now in this entry for Chad Brown. The 2 reserve currency, the 2B savings rate, both had shown very big ability at one point in their career. And for savings rate, that was the debut. Second start showed nothing, just didn't show up as a favorite.
Aren't they kind of just being bet because it's Chad Brown and because you assume that they have those back races to go to? I mean, if this was a different barn, different connections, I doubt they would be saying the same kind of price on A, both of them individually, and B, for a different trainer.
We'll see for savings rate. For savings rate, who has the outside post, it's just that, big debut and then didn't fire next time out. Certainly could see that horse rebound, but you don't often see that kind of a bounce from one of the best barns in the game.
Yeah, and as the favorite as well. It's not as though he was some sort of major long shot in that race, finished far behind, disarmed in Ocean's Reserve, who will have to deal with again and here. I don't love betting entries, but I don't particularly like either of them, especially not at this short of a price.
3-2 favorite, and he has been his best at this distance as well. All 3 of his victories coming at the 7/8. There he is, Ocean's Reserve. Can he do it again? Lane Luzzy rides for Leah Giramati. We're set for the 7th. Let's go to Chris Griffin.
All set. And they're off. Cup breaks well from in between horses. Ocean's Reserve towards the outside. Also joining this leader is Defusky Island. Oh, just taking a bad step there. Was a stumble. Looks like Cup is okay. Just took a bad stumble there coming out of the chute. Is being backed out of it now. Might be just being eased here. Not quite sure. That was a bad stumble there from Cup. It's Defusky Island who's got the lead. Defusky Island and Ocean's Reserve is right there, tracking from second. At the rail here is Kunshan Bridge. Following them is Narciso Dali, is in the center of the racetrack, is in fourth. At the rail, that's Critical Threat. Out wider, that's going to be Savings Rate, and inside of Savings Rate, that's Looney Sema, Reserve Currency, and just being eased. I think Cup, Luis Rivera Jr. just taking caution here as he's just kind of easing that runner. Looks to be okay, but just is kind of cruising there at the back of the field. 23-1 was the opening quarter mile, 46-4. That half mile time to the inside is Defusky Island, to the outside it's Ocean's Reserve, and they are head and head. Narciso Dali is in pursuit, so does Looney Sema. Down to the inside here is Kunshan Bridge, who's trying to rally on. They reach the top of the stretch. It's Defusky Island to the inside here of Ocean's Reserve. They are head and head here as they approach that final furlong. Ocean's Reserve with a nose in front. Defusky Island is not going away. The favorite is trying to tackle Defusky Island, who keeps coming back to the inside. Down to the inside here is Kunshan Bridge rallying on. Also running on is Narciso Dali. Ocean's Reserve is now gutting it out, and Ocean's Reserve will get the victory. Ocean's Reserve wins it over Defusky Island. Then came that run from Kunshan Bridge. It was a late run here from Reserve Currency. Ends up in a photo. They're with an oncoming Narciso Dali. And you are seeing east here past the wire. That's going to be the 6th Cup. Running time, 1:25.41 seconds.
All 4 career wins now for Ocean's Reserve at this 7/8 distance, and it just looked like he had the measure of Defusky Island and was going to eventually get by him. It took a little longer than expected, but he finally did.
And it was a quick, hot pace as well. Defusky Island sort of seeming to get back to one of his better races, kept him in the clear, out of harm's way early on. We did see Cup eased out of this race after that stumble. Chris Griffin great at keeping tabs on what was going on with him, and we can see from our vantage point that he is back safely and trotting with his handler, so good news on that part, and a nice cautious thing to do. Luis Rivera Jr. making sure to take care of him and get him home safely.
7-5 favorite, Ocean's Reserve with the win. Lane Luzzy, Leah Giramati. This horse has just been ultra consistent, especially at this distance in his career.
And I don't love to be a stickler about just an extra half furlong in distance, but I think he really is that 7 furlong type. He really flourishes at the 7/8 of a mile. It does his best running, and now a 4th win at the distance.
And I know he didn't win, but Defusky Island, good to see him back to some of his better efforts.
Absolutely, and those were quick early fractions, and he put up a fight. He did not want to let Ocean's Reserve go on by.
Again, 8-7-1-A-5. It's Ocean's Reserve in the 7th. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, what a brilliant performance from this 3-year-old. Bookham Dano, dominant in the Pasco Saturday at Tampa Bay. We'll take a look back and tell you what's next. Back on America's Day of the Races on our FS1 coverage. Thanks for spending part of your Sunday afternoon with us. Live look here at Aqueduct in South Ozone Park, New York, and Oceans Reserve. Lane Luzzy got a new agent. Dad getting those mounts for him, and he gets the win here.
Seems to be working out, right? Having a good winter so far here in New York, and this was a smart ride. He was able to sit just off the pace in here towards the outside, able to reserve enough to get by Fusty Island, who was very game, finishing second. A horse that he really had some troubled trips over his last couple of races and rebounds with one of his bigger efforts in here today. But Oceans Reserve, the 7 furlong specialists, he gets his 4th win of his career at the 7 furlong distance.
A horse he gets by there had beat him before at 6 furlongs, but he had 7 furlongs. Different story. $4.80 for the win. Again, 8-7, 1A5 in the 7th feature race here in New York. Coming up next, 3-year-old fillies sprinting 6.5 furlongs in the Franklin Square. First of all, $100,000 in the spot, and Drinky Temper was able to beat Kara's Time in the Key Cent Stakes race when they met last time out. Kara's Time had the lead that day, and somehow this filly was able to run her down in the stretch. It looked like Kara's Time had it locked up.
It did. A horse that had some good leads over her last couple of races and did end up getting run down. She'll have some other pace to deal with today, and that could set up for one of those horses that's sitting in a nice stalking position or perhaps coming from even further off the pace.
Program, if you watched us yesterday, we had all kinds of stakes action across the country with 3-year-olds pretty much exclusively in these big races. And here's a look at the winners at Tampa Bay from yesterday. Wayward Last was fillies and mares, but the Gasparilla Pasco 3-year-old fillies and the boys in the Pasco, and that was a huge effort. Coming out party for Bookham Dano. Could be headed to the Saudi Derby for $1.5 million purse coming up next. Check in with Acacia Clement. Who impressed you most on that Saturday card?
For barriers. I think Bookham Dano is the clear answer, Greg. What a performance in that Pasco as he was cutting back in distance a little bit to go to the 7 furlongs. And I asked trainer Derek Ryan afterwards if he felt like he wanted to stretch him back out. He mentioned the race in Saudi, which would be a mile, and it seems like that is what kind of suits him. But he said those Derby prep races going a little bit longer are not off the table, and you'd have to think that they'd have to still be options given how impressive he was and beating a nice horse too in West Saratoga, who had won the Iroquois at Churchill back in September, and he just ran away from this field. Physically, I think that he has taken a step forward, now making his 3-year-old debut yesterday, and obviously out on the racetrack with such a big performance. I was really dazzled by what we saw, and cool to see a New Jersey bred by Bucaro doing so well, and with a bright future too. He's done absolutely nothing wrong in his short career, and I think we could see some big performances from him down the line as well, Greg.
Thanks, Acacia. Yeah, he's 3/4 of a length away from being perfect. As trainer Derek Ryan felt if he had been the horse on the outside, he'd probably be perfect. But now, because he ran so good, these connections have some real tough choices to make.
And they have some high hopes for him as well. I mean, as they should, with the kind of performances that he's been able to put forth, handling a couple of different distances. And as you alluded to, he hasn't run that badly, going a little bit further either. A game 2nd place finish in that mile race 2 back, and a good performance to kick things off for his 3-year-old debut, winning by 12.5 lengths.
And you saw, I mean, if you paid attention to that stretch run too, not asked for a lot. So it seems like there's a lot more in the tank for this horse, and this is just the starting point for his 3-year-old season.
Yeah, we'll see if they do end up going over to Saudi Arabia to contest that Saudi Derby. He can probably handle the mile distance, as he was doing well in that Nashua when he finished 2nd. We'll see what we get from him going forward. It's a very exciting 3-year-old, even if he is one of those sprinting types moving forward.
Feature coming up next here in New York, Franklin Square. New York bred 3-year-old fillies. And there's My Main Squeeze. She would love to see a hot pace up front. Can she take advantage? For trainer Mike Maker.
Breeders' Cup champion Good Magic by Sire of Sires Curlin was the sire of first crop Kentucky Derby champion Mage, one of 3 Grade 1 winners to date, along with Muth and Blazing Sevens. In 2023, with just 2 crops to race, Good Magic ranked 21st on the general sire list with $9.5 million in earnings. 2-year-olds sold for up to $2 million, and yearlings sold for up to $725,000. Good Magic, the classic sire.
Run Happies are running. The Run Happies are selling. The Run Happies are winning. Eclipse champion Run Happy is showing a new dimension with winners on turf, dirt, and all weather. A record-breaking sprint champion, Run Happy is also showing winners at all distances.
The son of Run Happy, Nutella Fella, has won the hopeful.
One happy mama wins the Iowa sorority. Run Happy, price for value, and standing strong at Clayburn Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Trouble lurking out at Tampa. Right now he's calm. We saw that gator on the move the other day. America's Day at the Races brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. 7th coming up next in Tampa. Right now, Acacia's standing by with two very special guests.
Well, you know, it's a good day when you have some very special guests coming on the show here at Tampa Bay Downs. I'm so pleased to be joined by John Cooper, head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Rondé Barber of Tampa Bay Buccaneers fame. Guys, so happy to have you here. And John, we'll start with you. I understand you love coming to the track.
Love the track. This is, you know, I grew up with this back in British Columbia, and my family was very involved in the races. So anytime we get to come here, it just brings back memories of old. And you know, Stella and Margot, how can you not be around them? They're such awesome people, and they're great Lightning fans, so I love to come here.
We love that. We love that. And it's such a great place to come, Rondé, and you can kind of just feel how everybody enjoys being here. What's special for you about coming to Tampa Bay Downs?
I'm an Odessa resident, so this is close to me. I'm here quite a bit because we have an event here with Copperhead Charities next month in February, our bourbon and bow ties. We try to get fancy and act like we know what we're doing. But I'm also a horse fan. I own 3 horses. My daughter rides, so this is a perfect place for me to come back and relax. And whenever Coop heads up this way from South Tampa, I'm by his side.
What first brought you into owning horses?
Daughter.
We have that tendency.
Crying daughter, right? No, that's all it was. And we go out west. We go out to Montana. We ride horses out there, and a bunch of families did it, and she wanted to be part of it. And so now we're horse owners.
I absolutely love that. And John, quickly, because I understand you just celebrated a very special milestone with 500 wins in the NHL. Congratulations. How meaningful was that?
It's crazy because, you know, pro sports is kind of a business. You're hired to be fired. And I've been in such a fortunate place to have an owner in Jeff Vinnick that's believed in us, and, you know, general manager Julian Brisebois. They've been fantastic to me, and I think that's kind of how it's worked. And we've kept this group together, and no better place to be than in Tampa, Florida.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time. Enjoy. Hope you have some winners today, too.
Yeah, this last race was good for us.
Well done. Picking winners and enjoying the day at the races, Greg.
Pretty good duo right there. Rondé Barber, part of that Tampa Bay Ring of Honor, Super Bowl champ, 5-time Pro Bowler, and John Cooper leading the Lightning to back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. Just incredible.
I think the Mig ears are tingling somewhere. He's a big hockey fan.
Back here in New York, feature race coming up. Franklin Square approaching the 9-minute mark to post. It is My Main Squeeze, the 6 for Mike Maker, who is favored at 2-1. And coming off that win in the Maid of the Mist last time out at a mile is going to shorten up.
She was impressive in that race, and she was let go at a pretty big price that day for her. She was 5-1 when taking the Maid of the Mist, and maybe you say that she didn't totally appreciate the sloppy sealed going when she was kind of disappointing at a shorter price in that Joseph A. Jimma, but that was a race where Kara's Time was able to control the pace. It's unlikely that she gets a similar setup in here, and that could help My Main Squeeze.
Let's see how they look down in the paddock. Head downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, guys, this is a really good-looking group of young New York-bred fillies here. And I got to tell you, the one, Sweet Brown Sugar, who's undefeated up at Finger Lakes, is completely dappled out. I mean, this time of year, you don't usually see horses with the level of dapples that she has and the depth of the texture of her coat. To me, it's always a textural thing and the rich, hydrated look. She has been very good up at Finger Lakes. Let's see if that form translates down here to Aqueduct. But I will say, from a physical perspective, she is an absolute standout here in the paddock. This daughter of Collected, bred by Chester and Mary Broman, who have been prolific breeders in the state of New York for as long as I can remember. And then the 5-horse flight control, excuse me. I think I slipped up there because she just has a look of a filly with an attitude. She was very quick on debut. She looks like a little pocket rocket. Not a lot of size to her, but a great balance to her. And she walks around the paddock like she owns the joint. I like horses that have attitude. Good horses strut and they have attitude, and this filly has it squared for sure, guys. It's going to be interesting to see when they get out on the racetrack.
So that 5 filly with that attitude, she was 36-1 in her debut, and she took a field gate to wire for the win. We'll see if we see that progression here in start number 2. Never an easy task. Sometimes winning first time out can be your enemy. You got to face a lot tougher competition, but proves she was precocious in the debut, and there's some other speed she's going to have to deal with here as well.
Well, they opt for the stakes now for the second start, and I know there's plenty of opportunities for the New York bred fillies in stakes company here on this circuit, and that's kind of the hand you're dealt when you have a young horse that wins first time out. You end up having to make that choice about where you're going to go, and it is usually a stakes race early on, and it was a competitive figure. I mean, she earned a 67 by her speed figure in her first race, which with any forward progression, it does put her right in the mix, and she's shown some early speed as well.
Here's Tricky Temper, and we showed her running down the speedster Kara's Time in that Key Sense back on November 18th. It's going to be right to her outside, the 4 filly. But Tricky Temper, that was impressive. Didn't look like she was going to be able to get there, and she did just that. She's a 2-time winner, and she's probably going to get an even hotter pace, potentially, to try and run into today.
And you have to imagine that that helps her, right? When she was just able to get by Kara's Time, who didn't have that pace pressure in that last start, the Key Sense, that now with a little bit more pressure to that rival, she should get an even better setup in this race. And even before that, her last start on dirt, a second place finish to Jody's Pride at a big price, 16-1 that day in the Matron. Jody's Pride would go on to run very well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, so she's kept some good company, even in open races. Even though it wasn't off the turf race, she still held her own.
Is the filly she beat last time out, Kara's Time, who is a stakes winner, multiple winner. She's been first or second in 4 of her 5 career starts. We'll take a look at that meeting between the 3 and the 4 last time out when Tricky Temper did get by Kara's Time.
And Kara's Time, maybe you thought that she was a little bit unlikely to replicate that big performance that she had when winning the Joseph A. Jimma over a sloppy sealed surface, going the 7 furlong distance, because she was 22-1 that day. Upset Caldwell Loves Gold as well as My Main Squeeze, but has backed up that performance in her subsequent starts since, going a mile and then cutting back in the Key Sense to 6 furlongs. She's just a game-consistent filly. It just seems that on paper, at least, things don't necessarily set up for her on the front end.
We'll get back to the Franklin Square post parade coming up. We head back to Tampa Bay in the meantime as they make their way to the gate for this 7th race coming up. Let's go to Acacia.
We're going 7 furlongs here, Greg, and the number 7, Flipping Fish, second best last time out, and we'll get an extra 1/8 of a mile today, stretching out from the 6, but has been remarkably consistent throughout his career with 42 starts, 12 wins, 8 seconds, and 8 thirds. And I like that he does have a tactical running style. Made a nice impression on me today, very well turned out, and I think should be able to handle a little bit more ground, but it will be a question for him as he has been consistently running shorter distances. The number 2, Passage of Line, cuts back in distance, which should help him, as last time out slipped a little bit into the first turn. Just never really looked like he was able to get very comfortable, and was 3 wide late trying and just no catching the winner, though this horse was beaten as the favorite. So cuts back to the 7 furlongs today, and hopefully we'll be able to get into the race a little bit cleaner than he did last time out. Certainly one that does seem to fit in here as well. And the number 6, Freedom Road. I know that he's stepping up, but this is a horse, he's taking a little bit of money on the board right now and is a closing type. Thought that he ran pretty gamely last time out. A bit of a class test for sure for him in here, but maybe one that could pick up some pieces late. Greg?
Keisha thinks that was a look at him. He actually got sideswiped out of the gate last time out and still was able to get up and win. Certainly, yeah, against easier competition, but he's an interesting horse. The 7, though, Flipping Fish, 2 starts back. If he can repeat that effort, everybody else is running for second in here. Jason Beam, the call. Here's the 7th from Tampa.
Here's Guillaume coming in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. Exacting in the center shows out first, puts a nose in front early on. Flipping Fish was out in good order. And up from the extreme outside, Guillaume is also right there, part of the early mix as well. As they drive through onto the main track, it's Exacting just in front. A host of challengers, though. Chicory in the blue colors coming through now up to second. Passage of Lines down toward the inside. Then comes Flipping Fish between horses. Freedom Road and the purple advances. And on the outside, Guillaume, 4 of them line up in the second flight behind the 2 up front. And Lord Barrier, who's drawn to the inside, has gone toward the outside, is at the back, but only 4 lengths cover the group as Exacting with a host of challengers. Freedom Road between horses. Chicory on the inside. 23-2 for a pretty modest tempo here, the opening quarter mile. Flipping Fish in the purple colors just in behind is 4th right now. Passage of Line stays toward the inside in the red colors. 5th, just 2 off the lead. After that comes Guillaume and Lord Barrier, now just 4 lengths front to back. As they wind around that turn, Exacting still just a nose in front. Freedom Road tries to go with that one. Chicory now a length and a half back, is being joined on the outside by Passage of Lines and Flipping Fish. Those 2 starting to move as a team. From the back, Lord Barrier trying to get underway. Exacting has held everyone at bay thus far. Turns for home just in front of Freedom Road. Flipping Fish down the outside. Passage of Lines right between horses. 4 of them across the track at the 8th pole. Exacting digs in. Passage of Lines coming through between runners, and Passage of Lines goes to the front. Flipping Fish on the outside. Freedom Road down on the rail, but Passage of Lines, Michael Sanchez going to win another one here. Passage of Lines won it on a length and 3/4 in the end. Freedom Road was after that. Flipping Fish, Exacting held on for 4th.
Passage of Lines, slight cut back in distance. This horse had a huge effort at Delaware back in October that nobody could touch, and runs a big one here. 10th win of his career. As we get you back to our feature here in New York, Franklin Square, post-parade Sweet Sugar Brown coming in from Finger Lakes.
A horse that hasn't been facing much, but has won both of her 2 starts so far. Likes to be forwardly placed.
Tricky Temper coming off that win in the Key Sense.
See if she can build off of that effort. She ran very well last time out.
Here's the filly She Beat, who tried to go gate to wire.
A horse that will be forwardly placed, but expecting to have some pace company, particularly from this horse who's making her 2nd start.
Flight Control went by. She won her debut gate to wire at a big price, and here's My Main Squeeze.
Sort of the class of this field, your favorite right now, and she looks to build off of that win in the Maid of the Mist.
And on the outside, Trevor McCarthy, Bernie takes charge, coming off a victory here at Aqueduct.
She's hoping that the pace heats up quite a bit. She ran well last time to run down a couple of others in that 6-furlong allowance race. If she can get a little bit faster and get some hot fractions up front, she's a player at a price.
A lot of attention on the board for My Main Squeeze for the Mike Maker barn. Let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, Greg, and I'm actually going to pick My Main Squeeze. She looks fantastic. Buck Butler breeds a good horse, and I think she's got the right style for this race. The 1, Sweet Brown Sugar, really caught my eye. This is a absolutely beautiful filly, so well put together, so strong, and she's really well turned out. But I think she's up against it because, you know, she's never been anything but in front in her races, and from the rail, if she gets out-footed, how is she going to handle kickback? If she's not out-footed, how hard is she going to have to work to maintain that inside position? If she was drawn outside, I might have went in that direction, but My Main Squeeze certainly checks all the boxes from a physical perspective, and her style in this race, I think she's going to be a handful as your favorite.
Public seems to agree. Thanks, Mig. So 9-5 on the one that Public thinks is going to be able to take advantage best of this pace up front.
And she just makes a lot of sense. She's already shown that she could do it at this kind of level when she was able to get the win at a mile in that Maid of the Mist race, and now gets that slight cutback. But she's run well sprinting in the past before. You have to think it was really just a situation where she didn't handle the sloppy sealed going in the Joseph A. Gemma. She had a rival that was loose on the lead, and there things do look to set up very well for this horse, as well as Tricky Temper, who's actually a bigger price right now than Kara's Time. A little bit surprising.
And Mig just continuing to fawn over the looks of Sweet Sugar Brown, or Sweet Brown Sugar, excuse me, on the rail, Finger Lake Shipper. And that's a tough circuit to come, you know, here to the big leagues at Aqueduct against this kind of group. But so far has been perfect. And those first 2 wins, she was dominant
She was winning by open lengths in those races. She didn't really get tested whatsoever. This will be a class test for her today, but apparently has the looks to be competitive in this spot. Maybe the pace doesn't set up for her, but one to watch further down the line.
Here we go. Last in line, Bernie Takes Charge. Franklin Square, our Sunday feature. Chris Griffin, the call.
And they're off. Kara's Time breaks well from in between horses right out to the front, and also right there is Flight Control. It's going to be Kara's Time and Flight Control. They're 1-2. Just off of them is going to stalk from third as Bernie Takes Charge, and at the rail here comes Tricky Temper, who now secures the 4th spot. Second to last, My Main Squeeze, and the trailer at the back end of affairs is Sweet Brown Sugar. Pace duel on the front end. It's Flight Control. The big long shot is a neck in front of Kara's Time. 22-3 for the opening quarter mile. Bernie Takes Charge is in gear 3 wide, and following that move, here comes My Main Squeeze and Jose Lescano. Here they come. It's My Main Squeeze at 8-5, just looming up on the outside here, 3 wide. Losing some ground was Kara's Time. Tricky Temper, Manny Franco just looking for a seam. Still has some horses. Now taken 4th. In behind the battling trio, the trailer is Sweet Brown Sugar. At the rail, it's Flight Control, who's still ahead in front. Bernie Takes Charge is in between horses, and here comes My Main Squeeze, 3 wide. Tricky Temper's following that move. My Main Squeeze is now ready to pounce, and My Main Squeeze opens up a touch. Bernie Takes Charge is in for the fight and comes right back with those pink blinkers right after the leader. My Main Squeeze, but Bernie Takes Charge is resilient and can't put away this rival yet. It's My Main Squeeze. Bernie Takes Charge down to these 2 inside the final 16th. My Main Squeeze up by a half length. My Main Squeeze wins the Franklin Square. My Main Squeeze over Bernie Takes Charge, then Tricky Temper and Flight Control in 1:18 and 3.
My Main Squeeze, public gets it right. Goes off as the 8-5 favorite. Now back-to-back wins.
And was able to handle the cutback in distance, set a nice, beautiful trip in behind the horses that were showing that early speed, and just ended up tripping out in here. But I will say, Bernie Takes Charge sat a little bit closer today, and it ended up being the right move. This horse at a price who was able to put up a decent fight for second, but ultimately just second best on that rising class to My Main Squeeze.
And no one else able to put up any kind of resistance here in the stretch. Came down to these 2. Tough spot to be down on the inside here in the stretch duel.
This was a game effort. I mean, maybe you thought that Trevor McCarthy would have this horse a little bit further back, but it ended up being the right move because she was ultra competitive and just finished second to a horse that might be a little bit better than she is. But certainly they made the right choice going into stakes company again with her, and likely to see her facing stakes types down the line for the New York bred fillies.
3 wins now in the last 4 starts for My Main Squeeze, and a 3-win Sunday afternoon for Jose Lescano on board here.
A horse that we talk about, a rider, excuse me, that we talk about a lot as being kind of underrated, but certainly many people wise to his talents and abilities, the trainers around here as well as all of us and bettors as well, as he's guided a couple of short-priced horses home with some heads-up rides.
As you see, 6, 7, 3, 5 in our Sunday feature in this Franklin Square. Prices when we come back, and we'll get to the nightcap here in New York. Linda Rice, 165 wins last year, a new record on the New York circuit in a single season, and looking to keep it going. She'll have a chance in the nightcap coming up. Back with you on America's Day of the Races on FS1, brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. Feature race on the Sunday card in the books, and My Main Squeeze. Part of a 3-win day for jockey Jose Lezcano. Our winner circle lead-in brought to you by the Fasig-Tipton Kentucky Winter Mix Sale, taking place February 5th and 6th in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be? My Main Squeeze, now 3 wins, the last 4 starts, and the last 2 coming at a mile and now cutting back in distance.
She's versatile. I mean, she's been able to handle pretty much everything in her way except for a wet track so far, and they have plenty of options with her moving forwards.
And sometimes it feels gratifying when you feel like you see a race and it at least plays out the way you think. All these speeds, they wind up backing up.
They did. It was a contested pace. We didn't see one of them end up going to contest that early pace. That was our Finger Lakes shipper, but the pace did back up and she was able to sit a pretty perfect trip.
Mike Maker, for those that don't know and don't watch this program a lot, one of the top trainers in our sport, certainly one of the best claiming trainers in our entire sport, but looks like he has a pretty good New York bred filly here.
You think of him as turf more than maybe you should. But
Long on turf,
he's
yeah.
certainly capable of doing pretty much everything and plenty of options for this horse moving forwards.
Let's go downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, thanks, Greg, and I'm pleased to be joined here by the Butlers. And this has to be so satisfying for you. It's always great to win, but to win with a homebred.
You know, the homebred, New York homebreds, I've been so lucky. I've been blessed, you know, where I start out with my Mama Teresa, take it down another notch, and this in spite of Mama, she's something special, and she's spit out some beautiful, beautiful runners.
Yeah, she's really been a prolific broodmare. My Main Squeeze has really done nothing wrong. I mean, her debut, a little bit green, and then she didn't maybe handle an off track, but she's been perfect otherwise.
I think she has. I think she's done a beautiful job. I really liked the Maiden the Mist race, you know, where she handled everybody just professionally. So.
You obviously see the value in the New York bred program, but this is a filly that looks like at some point you might have to take a shot against Open.
I'm already there in my head. So we'll see what happens. I hope Mike listened to me a long time ago. I told him everybody else can have the Kentucky Derby. I want the Black-Eyed Susan. So maybe we go that direction.
Well, I wish you best of luck. That would be terrific. Congratulations here.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Thank you very much.
Guys, just 2 terrific people that deserve all the success they have.
Yeah, it means a little bit more being a homebred. Sounds like big aspirations if they're eyeing the Black-Eyed Susan.
And thinking ahead, nice forward thinking for a horse that has quite a bit of pedigree, and as they mentioned, the dam has been good to them. Of course, also the dam of Rotney, as well as Mama's Gold.
Nightcap coming up. New York Breds, $25,000 maiden claiming sprint at 6 furlongs. Wide open board, including a first-timer there, the 2 Spicy Tuna, trained by the one we're going to tell you about right now, 2023. What a year it was for trainer Linda Rice. 5 straight training titles, culminating with tying for the lead at Saratoga on the very last race run at the meet in upstate New York. Rice talks about her background in the game and what she hopes to be remembered for when she's all done.
When I go to the barn in the morning and train horses that I'm excited about running, that's what drives me. Winning races, whether it be a claiming race or a stakes race or a grade 1 at Saratoga, it's so much more fun than losing. Okay guys, Jose, I'm ready for the first one. Go ahead, we're going from the half out 5/8. My father, he was a hard worker, and he was very ambitious, instilled a strong work ethic in my 3 brothers and myself, and he had a love for the horses his whole life, and he instilled that in us as well.
It's double booked in front.
My first good horse was a horse named Double Booked, a grass horse, when I started training at Monmouth Park, and a filly of my father's named Ready Jet Go. But I would say that City Zip was a very good 2-year-old. I brought him here. He won all 3 2-year-old stakes here.
It's City Zip in front of the 16th. City Zip by 3.
He would be the horse that really helped move me along the path that I am on now. I like to claim a lot of young horses with lightly raised horses that I think have both potential on their pedigree side and, of course, conformation. So that's been a big asset to my claiming, which has been probably in the last 5 years I've been doing more of.
Voodoo Song digs in. Is he going to do it? He is! Voodoo Song with a 4-star day
New York racing is, frankly, it's my home. I've been here for quite a few years. I have gone from a young trainer that was struggling to climb the ladder to being a mainstay in New York. And I think by not diluting my business at different venues, I think it's been helpful for me to be successful right here in New York. I'm all about New York racing. My father always said, well, he didn't want to die in a harness. And I think about that sometimes, but I don't know what my day would be like if I didn't have horses to train or to be around or to be excited about. Linda Rice. I'd like them to say she was one hell of a horse trainer, and she earned it.
She is certainly proving that. Just an outstanding year, history-making year on the New York circuit. 165 wins, more than anyone has produced in a single season. And this is the trainer she's trying to run down as the all-time leading female trainer in the sport, Kathleen O'Connell.
Just a pretty incredible race as far as earnings, graded stakes wins, in the money percentage, but now going for the win record as well. And just an incredible year that she put forth last year, already building on that momentum for 2024. We've seen a lot of very bright female individuals as well as trainers, jockeys, in any aspect of the racing industry really have quite the breakout year in 2023.
33 wins behind, just a matter of when that is going to happen, maybe in the next few months. The way Linda goes, we're going to see her become the all-time leading female trainer in this sport. But what a year for female trainers in this game. Jenna Antonucci as well, first ever to win a Triple Crown event. Well, Kathleen O'Connell, who holds the record, leading female trainer of all time in the game, going to send out one in the next race coming up at Tampa Bay. That was lovely drama she'll send forward. And the trainer chasing her, Linda Rice, will have spicy tuna in the nightcap at Aqueduct. We'll be back.
The sun shines bright on Caraconte. His first crops of racing age are showing brilliance on the racetrack with a high percentage of stakes winners. His versatility is evidenced by winners on all surfaces across the globe.
Spandarella could not have been more impressive.
The sun shines bright on this value sire.
Fair down 25, fair down 25, fair down. Thank you. Right here, 525,000.
Caraconte, standing at Gainesway.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
Jockey's Warrior quickly in front here by 2 lengths. Here comes Jockey's Warrior up the inside to take over the lead from Life is Good. Jockey's Warrior remains undefeated here at Saratoga, and he wins an unprecedented Grade 1 stakes at the Spa for the 3rd straight season.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York breds start with an advantage. Our New York breds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously. For the Barraclough family of Saratoga Glen Farm, raising horses is all in the family.
I think it doesn't work if you don't have your whole family involved in what you do.
New York native Dan Barraclough and Kathy Barraclough, whose accent gives away her Australian roots, fell in love on horseback when they were leading trail rides at a resort in the Catskills. Even back then, they envisioned owning a horse farm and having children that would grow to share their passion for thoroughbreds.
We planned on it.
Not necessarily with me, but she planned on it for sure.
For the oldest, Taylor, middle son Shane, and the youngest Dean, the wake-up call comes early.
They'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, start stalls, feed, bring in, work the yearlings, work the layups, and then
They get up and work, then we get up and go have fun as well.
Taylor is already an accomplished equestrian.
For compensation for working here, I got to have a mare here. This is my 1,000 words colt. I'm really excited. Hopefully I get to sell him, and I don't know, I think he's really cool.
Shane excels at sports, but understands that his work on the farm is key to the family's success. How do you think this will help you?
Mostly the work ethic of how I do things in school with a timeline maybe, or what I need to get done in a certain period of time and how fast I need to do it. Staying focused.
Dean prefers training his dog for agility trials to riding. He's even started Dean's Delicious Dog Treats to earn money for his passion. But even he picks up a pitchfork when it's time to clean a stall.
I'm watering, I open doors, I mow lawns, I help Dad.
The Bear Cloud clan credits another family for helping them become successful, the family of New York breeders, who were generous with time and advice.
And we had a lot of help along the way. Joe McMahon was a mentor for us. He helped us, get our first clients. It's been a very good community for us. Ann Morgan and Tim, when he was alive, they were very helpful and accommodating.
When this War Dancer filly races at Saratoga someday, she will carry with her all the love and care she received from all 10 of the helping hands at Saratoga Glen Farm.
Back with you on our coverage, America's Day at the Races. For more information on the New York Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund, you can go to nybreds.com. Nightcap coming up here at the Big A. Going to close things out with a 6-furlong sprint. New York Breds, $25,000 maiden claiming race. And there is the 6 Drinking Solo there in the background as the Linda Rice runner, first-time starter, steals the screen. Drinking Solo, 2 starts back. That was an open company 20 maiden claiming race. Is that effort good enough to win here today?
It could be. I mean, he's kind of the horse to beat in a way, because we did see Solo in Paris come back out of that race with such a big number in his subsequent start, and you can easily make the argument that he was just going a little bit too far last time. Didn't really appreciate the mile distance, and now drops back a little bit in distance as well as price tag, and a horse that just makes a lot of sense, probably doing what he prefers to do in a spot like this.
Well, 3-1 favorite right now. Drinking Solo for Rob Falcone. There's a look at Arco Augusta. Jamie Beggs, 6-1 right now. This horse on a muddy sealed track last time out at a mile shortens up as well.
We'll see if he ends up preferring this distance. His only try sprinting was a maiden special weight event versus New York Breds, and that was a race won by Bon Chance, where the pace really did fall apart in there. He would need to improve just a little bit off of that effort, and it is a decent price right now if you like him. He earned a competitive figure last time over a muddy sealed surface, a 50 Beyer speed figure in his first time in for a tag.
And here's a look at a Knight's Courage. David Donk. Some early speed last couple of starts, but then has not shown a lot late, and is going to get a 9th opportunity to try and break his maiden coming up today.
The chances are just piling up for this one. I will say at least he has kind of an excuse last time. He was a part of a pace where he and the Delaware boys were contesting things early. Both of them ended up fading out of there. But as far as upside goes, the Delaware boys has a little bit more of that. He had a bad trip in his debut. So perhaps with him, the blinkers coming off helps him out. But a Knight's Courage, maybe a little bit dirtied up for him, as he has had those tries going long on the turf, going long on the dirt in that off the turf race. He has run better in his last couple of races, and you can expect him to be forward today.
And here's that 7 just left our screen. One of 3 first-time starters in the field, including this horse. This is the Linda Rice runner. Again, just a matter of time before she becomes the all-time leading female trainer in the history of this sport. Spicy Tuna. Some things to like with this firster?
Yeah, and at a filly facing the boys in here, this is the spot that comes up, so you end up taking it. And it just makes some sense based on the purchase price. This one sold for $15,000 at a mixed sale in 2021, so not yet a yearling in there. And not a ton of pedigree, but we'll see what we get from this one first time out.
All right, we'll get to the post parade momentarily. Going to get back to Tampa Bay. And the 8th race, post time coming up. 6.5 furlongs, $10,000 maiden claiming event. Let's check in with Acacia.
And a race, Greg, where there's not a ton of form to really sink your teeth into some horses that have had plenty of starts already. And with races like this, I do often tend to kind of verge towards the horses that have been taking a drop in class or doing a little bit something different. As far as Kathleen O'Connell's runner, the number 9, Lovely Drama, at least this one is cutting back in distance rather, and is switching to the main track. The 2 dirt races towards the start of her career were against a bit tougher at Gulfstream in Tampa, and she is coming back off a layoff since August. She looks fit off the bench. Physically, I can see why she was running longer distances, because she does kind of have that physicality, but she was on her toes and has the demeanor of a horse that should be able to handle a sprint. I am a bit surprised that the 8 Awesome Valentine is such a big price. I know that she hasn't shown much so far, but she ran against so much better in the summer at Gulfstream and is dropping in now to the 10,000. She was pretty revved up coming in too, making her first start, not having run since July. Probably will do better with a race off the layoff, but again, the drop in class I do find intriguing. Same thing goes for the 7 Sassy but Precious, interesting name. Another one with a layoff and another one taking a drop in class. She's shown some sparks of interest, and yes, her best and fastest race was on the turf, but she actually ran so well on debut when sprinting on the main track against Florida-bred Maiden Special Weight Company. I wonder if she can run back to some of those races. I thought that she could potentially be the right one in here, just given the fact that she's been facing much better horses on a variety of surfaces recently. Greg?
Occasion, thanks. Yeah, the 7 has faced, just seems like the best company in here. And first time out on dirt, that was against, she's a Florida-bred Maiden Special Weight. Better than what she's going to see here. She was second that day, and she's got a few races that make her, it looks like, the one to beat.
I agree. And a horse that, while her highest buyer speed figure was that debut effort, it's not as though she's completely fallen off the map since then, or highest on dirt, rather. We'll see what we get from her today, a horse that does make a lot of sense. But right now, your favorite, Lovely Drama, for that Kathleen O'Connell barn, just as we mentioned, the current leader as far as female trainers with wins, but Linda Rice closing it.
And for that filly, and she is the outside post here, the 9, last 3 starts synthetic, but in terms of her last 2 dirt starts, she is taking a decent drop in class.
I agree completely. She debuted for a $40,000 tag. She ran okay first time out. Actually was the favorite in there, pressing the pace in that race. The pace was sort of coming apart, so maybe an excuse for that race. And maybe this is ultimately where she fits.
See if Kathleen O'Connell can get a little more separation, fend off Linda Rice, who's coming for with another win here with Lovely Drama to the outside. Let's go to Jason Beam for the 8th.
Lovely Drama goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. Always Connected, showing good early speed. Right there is Azteca Girl. Lovely Drama out wide. Those 3 out, 1, 2, 3. And Real Mikey wants to join the party down toward the inside. So it's Azteca Girl just in front of Real Mikey, who comes up to challenge. Always Connected in the blue colors, now a length back in 3rd. Then comes Lovely Drama, who finds a good spot, 4th out in the clear. It's 2.5 more back to Sassy But Precious, who races alone in 5th. Another 2 back to Awesome Valentine. Family Stash is back 3rd last. It's 3 more then back to Wow Lady. And at the back is Juliana's Ruby. 22 and 4 for that opening quarter mile. Azteca Girl, Real Mikey, and now Lovely Drama coming up 3 deep to join them on the top end. It's a length and a half more then. Back to the pair of Sassy But Precious. Always Connected starts to retreat from 5th. As they wind around that turn, Lovely Drama takes over at the 5/16 pole. A new challenge emerges though. Sassy But Precious has had a nice trip. Going to move in and behind now to take over 2nd. Azteca Girl, Real Mikey, Always Connected. They're back 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 2 more back to Awesome Valentine. Trying to get going from the back. Juliana's Ruby's putting in a bit of a bid. They have 3/16 of a mile left to go. Lovely Drama is the leader. Sassy But Precious has a final furlong to make up 2 lengths now. Down on the inside, trying to make up some ground. Real Mikey switching to the outside. Juliana's Ruby trying to sustain that bid. 16 pole. Lovely Drama and Gallardo clear out here by 2.5. Juliana's Ruby surging late on the outside, but Lovely Drama's home. Lovely Drama 1 at a length. Juliana's Ruby at a big price closed up for 2nd. 3rd was Sassy But Precious. 4th, Always Connected.
Leading female trainer, history of the sport, adds 1 more. Kathleen O'Connell, KO with the win. Lovely Drama, Antonio Gallardo aboard for the victory.
And a situation where bettors did not know. A horse that took all the money late was the number 3 and actually goes off at 9-2. Was your favorite going into the gate, but you get a much better price as she crosses the wire.
All right, we'll get you those prices coming up. We return to New York, loading up for the finale on this Sunday card here in South Ozone Park. As this first-time starter steps in at 19-1. Dam produced 2 first-out winners, but this one taking very little attention.
A lot of precocity in the pedigree, but as you mentioned, pretty unalive on the tote board. There is one horse that will result in a pick 6 carryover. That is your number 8, Go Grad, a huge price, longest shot in the field. But after we had a couple of carryovers this week, I thought worth mentioning that is a situation that we could have again.
Having some issues, starting gate crew trying to get this first-time starter in the gate. Finally, seems like cooperating a little bit more. That 5 in the background. Again, Arco Augusta, 6-1 a player in here, but favorite will be, it looks like, Drinking Solo. And we'll see if this one cutting back to where he looked very sharp 2 starts back when he was a runner-up will make the difference for him to break through and get that first win of his career. I know you like this horse, the 3. And what we'll get from him is going to be forward or sit back off the pace. We'll find out shortly with Trevor McCarthy. Nightcap on this Sunday card from Aqueduct. Let's go to Chris Griffin for the call.
Steps forward and in. All set. Acted up there. Ooh. Horse got turned around the gate. It was Andre Worry. Taking a knee there. Horse reared up, and we were going to have a delay. Now another rider off there, Dylan Davis. The 2.
So slight delays you heard from track announcer Chris Griffin. Yeah, Andre Worry, that one Free Folk, I guess, reared up in the gate, and Worry was thrown on his back onto the dirt. So we'll see if he gets tended to here. Hopefully everything okay, but we're getting in a holding pattern here in the meantime for this nightcap.
Yeah, it seems like Chris Griffin about to make an announcement here, and hopefully we have some good news, but we'll find out what's going on.
Yeah, let's go downstairs to Mig for more.
Yeah, guys, the one Free Folk is scratched. She turned over and kind of got herself prone, pinned down in the starting gate. The concern is the horses surrounding her, obviously Spicy Tuna being the one closest. They have to be checked out by the veterinarian to make sure they weren't kicked or caught with an errant hoof by the horse Free Folk that did turn over there. It looks like Andre Worry got out of there cleanly, but a scary and tough situation, and hopefully Free Folk is okay. It looks like they're kind of getting her up on her feet at this point and out from underneath the starting gate.
All right, Mig, thanks. So, yeah, back to the barn for Free Folk. And, lucky, sometimes that can be a domino effect when a horse acts up like that, especially with another first-timer right next door to you.
And these are young horses, so it seems as though, thankfully, everybody else unscathed. Good to see her on her feet as they take the tack off, and she'll try again another day. It's also very windy out right now as well, and sometimes that can get horses feeling a little bit frisky, but these are inexperienced types, and this was his first start, and he'll have to make his first start another day, but good to see him going away with the pony.
Much of this field has remained in the starting gate, and that's bit of a disadvantage. I mean, meanwhile, this 2 has got to roam around, stretch the legs, but yeah, the majority of everyone else has stayed in the gate. So they're going to load the 2 Spicy Tuna back up. Dylan Davis. Let's go back upstairs to Chris Griffin.
And we're all set. And they're off. Spicy Tuna breaks well, and so does Reedy Falls towards the outside. And between horses, A Knight's Courage is in that early mix as well. Spicy Tuna with a head in front, and A Knight's Courage is stalking from second. Here's Drinking Solo. It's now a challenge third. Out wider is Reedy Falls. The Delaware boys and Trevor McCarthy, they're going to ride the rail, and now they have to tap on the brakes. Want to go, nowhere to go. Now back there in the 6th spot, that's going to be Go Grad. Pretty strung out here early. Arco Augusta's towards the tail end of the field with Financial District. 23.49, Spicy Tuna has the lead, but now is confronted by A Knight's Courage right to the outside. They're head and head. Wanted to go was the Delaware boys, and now the Delaware boys has got some clear running room, and Trevor McCarthy moves towards the outside. He slipped right to the inside of Drinking Solo, who's dropping back. The Delaware boys is ready to challenge out wider. A Knight's Courage will bring them to the top of the stretch. A Knight's Courage, who kicks on. The Delaware Boys, though, has been full of run, and here comes the Delaware Boys rolling down the center of the racetrack. A Knight's Courage is not giving up that lead, though. Go Grad is also making up some ground towards the inside. A Knight's Courage is still there. Financial District from out of nowhere, grandstand side. Financial District is going to mow them all down. Financial District, Ruben Silvera, they're going to pass them all, and they're going to win the finale. Financial District wins it over Aqueduct, then the Delaware Boys, and A Knight's Courage finish fourth in 1 minute 16.37 seconds.
The Pennsylvania Shipper coming in from Parks Financial District. No question going best late of anyone to get the win.
Well, you see in the running line of his last race, some late energy. He had a lot of late energy today as he's able to rally from in last. At this point, it was a pretty hot pace, but it didn't completely fall apart, and he was able to get that good outside momentum. You also see the horse that finished second, Arco Augusta, towards the back of the pack at this point as well. So it was those two closers that ended up getting that pace to run into and getting the job done to finish first and second.
Horse actually started first couple of tries on grass, sprinting. One of them here in New York. And it showed some promise, as you mentioned, especially in that last start. Started to make up some ground late in the stretch, and lots of late energy. Yeah, in this closing performance, 9-5-3-4. Financial District, Ruben Silvera with the win in career start number 5.
He got some pace, but I mean, this was a big performance. It's not as though those horses that were forwardly placed were completely dissolving out of there, but both he and Arco Augusta able to make up that ground, and I think the running line will have a little bit more than some late energy.
Son of Yoshida, who was such a good performer a few years back.
Yeah, and I understand why they would want to try this one on the turf. That didn't work out. Seems like he prefers the dirt as well as a little bit of class relief, but able to get the job done at 5-1 in here. And there was only one horse that was uncovered in the pick 6. He was not one of them, so the pick 6 does get hit today.
All right, we'll have all those prices for you coming up when we return, and we'll talk the horse to beat for this Hall of Fame trainer on the road to this year's Kentucky Derby. Todd Pletcher with Fierceness, outstanding winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Worked Saturday and gearing up for his 3-year-old debut. Good to have you with us on our Sunday coverage. America's Day at the Races on FS1, presented by legendary Clayburn Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. Card and Aqueduct in the books. Like several different runners had a shot at this one. Look how far back the 9 is. Second last at this point, and it's going to power away down the stretch for the win.
This was a wide open race on paper, but I mean, this was a decent performance from a horse that had to make up so much ground. The pace was honest enough, but really powered by everybody going wide into the stretch, got that nice clear run, and he was the highest priced winner of that pick 6 sequence at $13.40. A very formful sequence overall, but sometimes it pays to beat those favorites, and it was a decent return, over $8,000 without a super high priced winner.
So 1340s you mentioned there for the win. Breaks his maiden career start number 5. Pick 6, 8,500 plus. If you're able to put that combination together. Pick 5, just over $1,000. Well done to anyone who was able to come up with that handicapping this afternoon. So Aqueduct card in the books. So much talk about championship weekend. It's not often you come away from that weekend of the Breeders' Cup and say it was a Breeders' Cup juvenile winner who was the star of the show. That was the case this year with Fierceness.
He really wowed us. I mean, this was a horse that he had that kind of poor and surprisingly poor effort going into this race, but Connections trusting their gut that what they had seen on debut was going to carry them, and it did. This was a monster performance, and he was a big price this day for these types of connections. Rapoli stable, trainer Todd Pletcher, John Velasquez in the saddle. You don't get a fair price on these all too often. And he was able to power away, earning a triple-digit Beyer speed figure for this dominant performance.
And that's just a triple-digit Beyer speed figure. It's just couple of points below what the Breeders' Cup Classic winner, older horse, White Barrio, was able to put together on Saturday, winning the main event. Just incredible what this horse was able to do. And everyone thought it was his stablemate Lock that was going to be the horse that was going to do this kind of, or have this kind of performance. Instead, it's Fierceness, who clearly now heads into this 3-year-old season on the Triple Crown Trail as the horse to beat. Here's his Hall of Fame trainer on what he saw in the Breeders' Cup.
It was very validating, because I think everyone questioned if he really belonged, but we had to go with our instinct and what we were seeing and what we had seen from him in everything that he had done with the exception of the Champagne. So we were wanting to give him the opportunity and glad that he showed up and ran as well as he did. And race looks even better with Muth coming back and winning the San Vicente impressively. And we've been super happy with the way he's handled the winter so far. He seems like he's filling out a bit and growing up a little more. His breezes have been very easy and impressive. So knock on wood, so far we're right where we want to be. If everything goes exactly according to plan, we'd like to run in the Holy Bull and then the Florida Derby. I like the spacing of that. So that's plan A. And good thing about this time of year is there's a prep race pretty much every weekend somewhere. So if things go well, we'll plan on that. But obviously, if we need to call an audible, we will.
So highly anticipated 3-year-old debut. It's sort of Fierceness and everyone else with how good he ran that day. February 3rd is that Holy Bull. Just worked on Saturday with his stablemate Locked. He just seemed to be going a lot easier in that workout and pulled away a little bit later in the work. He looks like he has grown. He's gotten stronger. He's added weight. So everything you want to see from this horse moving into his 3-year-old campaign is going according to plan.
He just seems like the real deal. I mean, maybe Connections getting a little bit superstitious. They've been in this position before where they win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and they have that likely Kentucky Derby favorite going forwards into 2024. They had Uncle Mo, of course, Forte last year, hoping to make it into the starting gate of this year's Kentucky Derby with Fierceness. He'll be tough if he continues this upward trajectory.
Worked, again, as we said, Saturday with his stablemate Locked. That was the horse most people thought were going to see that lights-out performance from. Locked so good in that second start of his career at Saratoga. And then this Breeders' Futurity was pretty special as well, going wide to get this victory. We'll hear from Pletcher in a moment on what he saw from him in the Breeders' Cup. But a horse, is he that far off Fierceness, or is this a horse that can try and close that gap?
He'll have to take another step forward. Of course, horses change and develop as time goes on. But as you mentioned, this was a monster performance because he had trouble throughout this running of this race. He had to go wide while his main rival, the Wine Store, was able to save all that ground and have a pretty perfect trip. And these two put on a nice show down the lane. And he's just been very consistent. Oh, I know he wasn't able to get within the breathing air of Fierceness in that Breeders' Cup, but he still ran well to end up finishing on the board in that spot. So maybe with a little bit upward momentum, he can sort of close that gap and be another top contender for Todd Pletcher going into the Kentucky Derby.
Well, they're all chasing his stablemate. It was Locke, though, who was the favorite in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and Pletcher not ready to give up on him just yet.
He ran really well in the Breeders' Cup. He was one of the few horses the entire weekend that really closed from off the pace. He got a little further back than we wanted, climbed from the dirt a little bit, the kickback, and I think the kickback was a significant element of why horses were having trouble closing at Santa Anita on the Breeders' Cup weekend. But once he got clear, was making up ground on Muth, was a stride or two away from getting up for second. It's a colt that's always trained very well, and I look forward to a good sophomore season. I think the Sam Davis could be a good starting point, and then that kind of puts us in a position where we have a lot of time in between that race and his second prep, which also gives us a lot of options. Keeneland be high on the radar screen with having him won the Breeders' Futurity there, but if we decided we want to go a week or two earlier, we could also do that to give him a little more time to the Derby.
And you look back at what he's able to do in that Breeders' Cup, and as far back as he was, nearly getting to Muth, who's come back and won the San Vicente out west on the Triple Crown Trail, looks a lot better than just a distant third.
And I think Todd Pletcher brings up a great point that it was hard to make up ground that weekend. We saw a lot of horses have trouble closing in races that were really dominated forward. So maybe you take that into consideration, and with a different trip, maybe he's a little bit closer to Fierceness. So we'll see what they ultimately end up doing as they continue on and make their 3-year-old debuts. But two very exciting horses.
Everybody has got to try and make up ground on Fierceness. I mean, that was just sensational what he was able to put together in the Breeders' Cup. We haven't seen a performance like that in the Juvenile in quite some time. Here's a look at the upcoming road to the Derby. Lots can change, though, as the calendar turns to January, and these 2-year-olds become 3-year-olds in our immediate future. On the Triple Crown Trail, LeCompte at the Fairgrounds, southwest from Oaklawn, and the Withers here in New York on February 3rd.
Which one are you most looking forward to?
I mean, everyone, I think, can't wait to see Fierceness back in the Holy Bull. That's probably the big one that everyone has circled right now.
Yeah, I'd agree. We're looking forward to seeing what he does. But, I mean, you make a great point. We don't know what we're going to get as these horses turn 3. And last year's Kentucky Derby winner, we hadn't even heard from him at this point yet.
Finale coming up from Tampa when we return. Going to close things out with a claiming race. Non-winners of 3 Lifetime, the condition. Sprinting 6 furlongs.
War Dancer, New York's leading turf sire again in 2023 with standouts like Barrage at Saratoga.
Here's Barrage with a final surge. Barrage got him.
War Saichi dominant on the dirt at Finger Lakes.
War Saichi has scampered well clear. War Saichi all the way with the top spot.
And Danzig Queen on the tap of the surface at Woodbine.
And Danzig Queen will come away and win by a length.
Consistently producing winners on dirt, turf, and synthetic. War Dancer, proud to stand in New York.
America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
In its 97th season, Tampa Bay Downs has plenty of history. Today, there are many new things to see and do, and perhaps most importantly, the track's racing surfaces have become a big draw for owners and trainers looking to find the winner's circle.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, the turf course is beautiful. And when we started training, me and my wife, we had horses that were turf horses, and we needed to spend the winter somewhere. So we give it a go, and we really enjoy the place, the atmosphere, and the fact that horses winter very well.
Well, as you can see, everybody comes here to run on the turf, get their horses ready for going north. And the dirt track is, when you leave here, you can pretty well win at any track. The horses get legged up good here, and it's a very safe track.
We just want to give our horses enough foundation and experience to be able to obviously go to bigger meets, meaning Kinlan, New York, and you know how tough that can be. And we feel that Tampa is the right place to do so.
There are several places to enjoy all of that great racing, with new stadium seating in the grandstand, covered cabanas on the first floor, and the veranda, which gives your group the best seat in the house, directly across from the winner's circle. There's more fun to be had next door at the Downs Golf Practice Facility, which was launched in 2003.
We offer a fully stocked pro shop. We carry about 9 different brands of apparel, clubs, golf balls, gloves, you name it. Full short game area. You can actually bet the horses inside of our pro shop. We like to call ourselves the only driving range where you can bet horses and play golf in the same day at the same location. You know, joining the golf with the racetrack for families is perfect. You know, you can come over here, hit some golf balls, and then go have some lunch over at the track and play the horses. And there's obviously a lot of stuff to do over there for kids as well. So it's a perfect place.
Fans can also experience the Silks Poker Room on the 3rd floor with a variety of high-stakes games and tournament competition. Whatever you're looking for on race day, you can find it at Tampa Bay Downs.
The word is approachable, both as a fan and as an owner. Everybody that you run into wants you to be here. You have a real connection to the people, and I'm talking from the racing office all the way down to concessions. So it's just a great place to be an owner. It's a great place to train horses. It's probably the best surface in the country, and there's no better place to be in the winter.
Well, it's been a treat for us to have Tampa Bay coverage these last couple of days. Obviously, that terrific card Saturday, Acacia, and they're known for one of the best turf courses in the country.
They certainly are, Greg, and you see some of the top trainers opting to run some of their better horses in debut here at Tampa, and we've seen the success that horses starting here in the winter have gone on to do, like you heard in that feature from some of the horsemen based here. You have the opportunity to start on a wonderful surface for both training and racing and go on to some of those big graded stakes. Not to mention Tampa has a wonderful graded stakes program as well. We'll see the Sam F. Davis coming up in a couple of weeks, of course, all culminating with the Tampa Bay Derby, leading on to the Kentucky Derby. But one thing that I always find I enjoy so much about coming to Tampa Bay Downs is that everybody just genuinely seems so happy here. The whole staff from start to finish is so kind. I always love getting a chance to come here, catch up with everybody, and you can just see how much the fans enjoy this track as well. It's a smaller, very fan-friendly place, and you can really feel it here on top of the great racing as well. So hopefully we get some warmer weather the next time I'm back here. Even our director, Mitch Levitis, wants to visit Tampa Bay Downs now, and we're ready for some more great racing to come, but it's been another fun day in Tampa, Greg.
Acacia, thanks for being there. No one better to showcase it than you. Did a great job this weekend. We love having the coverage. We're getting set for the finale coming up. Here's our post parade. Deke Holdis going to kick things off at 6-1.
Perhaps an omen for the weather that she's experiencing over there, as well as us. A horse that's getting back to the dirt after a couple tries on synthetic.
Same price next door, Majestic Pharaoh.
very short price last time, didn't get the job done, off a little bit of a freshening now.
Yeah, off since May, was a 3-5 favorite in that win last time that we saw him. Runaway Tom here at 26-1.
Big price last time, big price today. Would need a little bit of a form reversal off that last race.
First on dirt for Selecto.
And you're not supposed to bet horses at short prices trying something new. This one at least is a fair price at 9-1.
Kitten's Clown, two-time winner from 25 starts.
A horse that has faced a company like this, 8-1 last time, a much bigger price today, would need to improve a little bit.
Freelance went 5.5 on synthetic last start.
A couple of layoff lines for this one. Hasn't strung some races together since earlier this year. Does like Tampa, though, would need a form reversal.
Long time since that one won. Shastry, the 7, Terry Pompey trains.
A horse that needs to get a little bit faster to contend with some of the top contenders.
This one, the 8, should be pretty far back early.
And likely will stay there.
There's the one to beat, Truly Mischief, who was coming off a dominant win, claimed out of that race.
A horse that is going first off the claim from Juan Arriaga, but just seems like the horse to beat.
Rider changed, one of the best in that jockey colony, Antonio Gallardo on Chromed Impulse.
A horse that is going second off a little bit of a freshening as well. Has some back races that could compete.
And the last couple, pretty good from Mean Tweets at 9-1.
Yeah, a horse that was actually favored over his last 2 races. You're getting a much bigger price today, but certainly has the recency and the competitive numbers.
And Westover, the 12, I believe we'll get to at 39-1, had back-to-back wins early last year at Oaklawn, going longer, but it's been a struggle since.
And just not really carrying on that form. When this horse went over to Monmouth, tried the turf and didn't run that badly, but just need to pick things up based on the last race especially.
Oh, we'll go to Acacia now. Big win last time out for Truly Mischief. Acacia deserving of even money here?
I guess that this horse could be the one to win in here, Greg, but even money is a short price, I think, to take on anybody in this field. I know that he got the win most recently, but that was in non-winners of 2, so stepping up to the next level today. Yes, it was an open length score. He certainly looks fine. He's on his toes, very sharp. He can be forwardly placed as well. Just like I said, to take anybody at even money in here, I think would be a little bit tough. The number 4, Selecto, he's a big price. He's only ever run on turf, but actually physically looks a little bit more like a dirt sprinter, which is what he's going to do today. Not to mention does draw Sammy Camacho, who's been so dominant as always throughout the meet here at Tampa Bay Downs. And the 2, Majestic Pharaoh, he too is stepping up off of a win in the non-winners of 2 level and off of a layoff, but at least is 6-1, at least is a little bit more of a price and has plenty of early speed. I'm curious of what this one can do. He has some good size to him and he was on his toes, and if he's ready off the bench, and see if he could potentially control things on the front end and parlay that victory last time out up to this next level of competition. Greg?
You got to think Majestic Pharaoh, the 2, who basically went gate to wire last time out at 6 furlongs, coming in off that long layoff fresh. It's going to fire out of there.
Exactly, and a horse that has shown that speed, especially with an inside post as well, likely to do the same again in this spot. Timeform US does project this horse to be in front, though also projects this to be a pretty honest pace with your number 10 horse, a Chromed Impulse, also wanting to show some forward position, and Truly Mischievous sitting right off of them. But I agree with Acacia. I think that's an awfully short price to take on a horse that might be the horse to beat, but it doesn't necessarily mean that this isn't a wide open field outside of that one.
All right, clicks down to 4-5 right now. Public loves this 9, and there was a lot to like about that effort last time out. But as Acacia pointed out, it was, an easier condition, and graduated, did so extremely easily. But now it's non-winners at 3 life, so it gets a little bit tougher. But off that performance, deserves to be the favorite.
Going to a new barn as well, and sometimes you wonder first off the claim. This is a trainer that has some high percentages, 39% first off the claim, 7 out of 18, a $2.71 ROI, so winning with bigger prices than this one is going to be, so certainly going to a capable outfit.
It's the 9, Truly Mischief, the 1 to beat even money. Favorite nightcap from Tampa Bay. Let's go to Jason Beam for the call.
Been a gloomy weather week, but the sun's shining upon us here as we get set for the finale. Westover and Melissa Iorio to the outside. Going up. And in. They're in the gate. acting up there. It looks like gate 4, Selecto. Settles down. And the race is on. Westover got out sharply. Freelance is right there. Truly Mischief, the favorite, is close up. Majestic Pharaoh wants a part of the early mix as well. Majestic Pharaoh coming up to grab the lead. Chromed Impulse out in second. Truly Mischief, the favorite, third, just a length off the top. It's a length and a half more, then back to D Coldest, who moves inside of Freelance. They're fourth and fifth. Break of a length and a half more back to Shastry, who's in the sixth position. Runaway Tom is seventh. Kitten's Clown in the lime colors is eighth. Break of 3 more, then back to Selecto in ninth. Westover's back 10th. Mean Tweets is 11th. And Run Lee Run is 12th and last. After a 22-1 opening quarter mile, Majestic Pharaoh speeds along past the 3/8 pole. The lead is a length to Chromed Impulse. Out 3 deep, Truly Mischief, the favorite, coming after these top 2. Just in behind them, DeColdest going to look for a seam down at the inside. Here comes Truly Mischief out wide, the favorite going to the front. Truly Mischief quickly a length and a half to the good of Chromed Impulse. Majestic Pharaoh to the inside. Freelance and DeColdest trying to rally up 4th and 5th. 3 more back to Runaway Tom. Kitten's Clown putting in a little bit of a bid. Mean Tweets is starting to run on as well. Final furlong time now. Truly Mischief and Ricky Feliciano in front, 2.5 lengths now. DeColdest, Mean Tweets continues to progress between horses and Freelance, but as they come to the wire, it's Truly Mischief in front. Truly Mischief going to win it here by 2.5 in the end. Second to Coldest. Third was close. It's either Mean Tweets or Freelance for third and fourth. Fifth, Majestic Pharaoh or Chromed Impulse in a photo.
Truly Mischief, too good for this group. Favorite now, back-to-back victories. Gets through this non-winners of 3 life condition.
Well, the money was right on a horse that was stepping up a little bit in class, going to a new barn that did have high percentages first off the claim and set a nice stalking trip. Those pace setters ended up fading, able to hold off the closers in here, and 4 to 5 or even money now as this horse goes off at. Ended up being right.
Almost, moving up to this next condition, almost as dominant as last time out.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the figure comes back, if it's the same as last time, because that was a very convincing effort.
Got a little bit of time for the end of the show here. Let's look back to Saturday on this road to the Kentucky Oaks and the Busanda and what we saw from Jin in this spot. Brad Cox, likely your favorite to win another Eclipse Award as outstanding trainer. Looks like he has a filly improving, and at least a filly, too, that's shown she can handle 1 mile and 1/8 the distance to the Kentucky Oaks.
She'll have to get a little bit faster. There's no superstar standout in the filly division heading into the Kentucky Oaks, but she's able to collect 20 points on the road to that first Friday in May, and seems like she's going to be staying in New York following the road to the Kentucky Oaks here, pointing to the Gazelle to rack up some more points and get herself in the starting gate. And this was a heads-up ride by Trevor McCarthy. He saved all the ground, angled out, passed by your pace setter, Princess Mayfair, who was trying the surface for the first time and able to get the win, and some rivals that kind of didn't really show up behind him. Shimmering Allure was your favorite and just wasn't her day.
Yeah, we'll see if she can bounce back, and there's that record from Jin. Still relatively lightly raced, and the filly she puts away here, it's impressive from her. That was her first time on dirt.
She was fast out of the gate. She opened up a decent margin in here. She took a little bit of pressure, and it was a long way back to your third place finisher. So maybe she stays on dirt going forwards. Could be an interesting horse going ahead.
You just never know how it's going to play out. Fierceness, obviously, is this monster, and it seems like it's so far back to everyone in the 3-year-old division for the boys. Things can change, and maybe someone starts to emerge in this filly division as well. Got plenty of time for it to happen.
We have plenty of time. That's absolutely correct. We'll see what these horses do as they continue to grow and develop a very open 3-year-old filly division.
Back with you next week. We'll see you on Friday. Check your local listing. She'll be on Fox Sports 2, though, Friday, 2:30 Eastern time. So we hope to see you then. Franklin Square, my main squeeze. Mike Maker Barn, 3-win day for Jose Lezcano. This filly's won 3 of her last 4, and now back-to-back stakes wins as well. At Tampa, Crazy Mason. Public got this one right, went off as a 3-5 favorite and able to get the victory. And as we just showed you, Jin for Brad Cox. He's got an Oaks contender with her performance. Up next on FS1 Inside the Big East.